Welcome to the At the Table with the Haraughty's podcast. We're David and Amy, a couple of imperfect followers of Christ. Come on in and join us. This is where you'll be inspired and encouraged by stories of believers, how they found Jesus and how they follow him, how he moves and how he changes lives. We are blessed to walk it out together with you. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
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 We have somebody pretty special to introduce you to.
Yeah.
We promised this when Emily was on.
Yeah.
That was episode 3 or 4. Two? Nope.
Yeah, it was 2. No.
2.
Whatever.
No, it was definitely not 2.
And Mike
Really?
were 2. I think she was 4.
Pam and Mike were 1. No, they were 2.
No, that was you guys were 1.
Our story was number
your
1.
guys' story.
I was thinking
the guest.
I was thinking guest.
Yeah. So when Emily came on, we knew we were talking to David about it and seeing what he was up for, and we were kind of like, whoa, because he's like, no, I have some stuff to say, and we were like, good.
Yeah, we wanted to do him, get his story, and then have
them together. So that's coming next. We're actually working on our schedule to get that to happen. So
when did you guys start this? It was
July 15th.
Yeah,
July
because
15th.
I was in.
It was our anniversary. We chose to
anniversary.
pump it out on our 1-year anniversary. Holy cow!
I think I was on one of my trips.
Yes.
Yeah, your deployments. Yeah.
Trips.
We can get into that.
Yes.
Yep.
Trips.
So
Or
as
whatever.
you have heard us just naturally jumping into this is our son, David Jr.
This is David
Howdy,
Jr.
howdy.
Howdy. You guys have heard us share very openly about our story. Milo is trying to get in between. Oh,
Yeah,
my
the door,
goodness.
The door is not closed.
Yeah, we're letting Milo be a part of this one since it's family and not outside guests. Good gravy. So you're going to see Milo probably a lot, guys.
If
You
he
know, the
jumps
famous
in.
ginger cat. But you guys know that we've shared very openly. Holy Spirit has been ministering to me all day, and the enemy has been trying to steal and attack all day. So I have a feeling this one's going to be a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
Just as it was with Emily. You know, we've got a story, and they're a part of my story. What?
Making sure you got the
Uh-huh.
tissues in there.
Oh, the tissues are here. I'm
Yeah.
sure I'll be the only one.
Probably.
But I am just coming off of being sick, and so you may hear some coughing. We'll get through that, right?
Well, Oklahoma's seventh right now for flu.
That's
cold and
fabulous.
flu
That's fabulous.
right
My
now.
school had to shut down for 2 days because we had so many cases of the flu.
Went
I
rampant
just-
through.
I just saw that today.
So it was kind of cool that God chose that time to allow that to happen, because we just got to kind of be in the house together, and we haven't really had a lot of that time.
Mhm.
So that's a big part of the story too, because this is the house you grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's totally changed. So I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah, just a little bit.
It has totally changed.
off.
So this is your second time home since we have been together, correct?
Third
Third?
time.
Since he and I have been together, or it's
second
your
time.
Second time since you guys have
Right.
been together.
but
third
third time
since I've
home
been
since you've been
home
on
since I've
Since Sue's
joined.
in the Air
and
Force.
since Sue's
Yes.
passed away.
And so, okay, got
That
it.
was my first time coming back.
Yeah, because the first time you came back, the house looked the same.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Just mom was not here,
Uh-huh.
which
Yep.
is
That's one
the
of
biggest
questions.
change
Yeah,
of
that was
all.
one of the things. Yeah.
Whew.
But we'll get
Well,
into
I'm
that.
going to not
But
cry
yeah.
yet.
I'll get into
Not
that.
gonna cry
We'll
yet.
get into that.
No,
So
I've got stories for that.
as
Yeah.
we do with every guest, unless there's something else you want to say, I know that you were so excited for him to get here. He was tracking you as he was
Yeah.
driving from Arizona. He's like, all right, he's in New Mexico now. Remember the white
Yeah.
sand
Well, we can
dunes?
tell he's in the Air Force,
Yes.
so he doesn't get. I mean, he
We don't
doesn't
get
get
to
a whole
see
lot of
him.
time. I think you don't get a whole lot of time off because of the plane that you work on. Because Cole comes home quite a bit, but
Yeah,
he's working
it's
on
2 or
like
3 times a year he comes home,
but
right?
he's working on like stationary stuff, so he's not. Being
Don't you love this
deployed.
cryptic military talk?
Yeah.
Stationary stuff.
I don't.
Okay, so how did you find Jesus? Take us back as far as you need to go to get to that point.
Well, you do like, yeah, I guess, but you can do like a regular guest, like as he was growing up,
Yeah.
kind of your
Yeah.
Yeah,
background.
take us
and all
back,
that
take
kind
us
of
back.
stuff.
It's a long story. Grew up. We were a Christian family, but like whenever I was in my younger like elementary school years, I was a young kid.
Mm-hmm.
We went over to the church, to the First United Methodist.
Yeah,
Up until
That's
I
where he
was
did it. Yeah,
what, probably
Mm.
10.
5. Yeah, we were there
Mm.
5.
Yeah.
5 or 6
Probably
years.
until I was just now becoming going to preteen
Yeah,
years.
So you started at 10 years old at
Mm-mm.
United Methodist? No.
No, I was
Younger than
like growing up, like before then, that was our church home.
yeah.
and then we stopped going.
Emily was tiny baby. She
Yeah,
was like
okay.
maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
when
Because
we
you
were
and
going
I
there.
was young.
Susie
I
were
was
married-
4-ish when we started going there.
How long were you and Susie married before you had David?
5 years.
That's what okay, that makes sense.
4 or 5 years.
Okay, that makes
And
sense.
we were 20
Because you said it was 7 years in that you gave your life to Christ.
Yeah, 2001.
And then the
Yeah.
kids followed, and then Susie followed right with all of ish.
Not really. It was kind
Sorry, I'm just in my mind trying to get the timeline down.
No, it was further than that. Because James invited us.
Yeah, James invited you guys.
I want to say 2005-ish, somewhere around in there. That sounds about right. Because
Okay.
I started coaching with him at the tennis team,
Mm-hmm.
and that was 2005.
Yeah.
So I think that's when he was like, "Hey, if you don't have a home church,
Yeah.
come visit
something like
us."
Okay.
That makes sense.
So
that's
how
when
old
we
were
started
you
going.
when you started going to United
It would
Methodist?
have been 4 or
okay.
5,
5.
depending when.
Okay.
2005. Yeah.
Because you
Emily
and
was
Emily are
tiny.
2.5 years apart.
Yeah, I was 2000. She's 2002.
It's about same as Karen and I. Well, we're 3.5.
2.5 years.
Got it.
She was probably 1 or 2 years old.
Okay.
Because we'd put her in the pew.
Well, didn't you say
with
that when
crayons.
Susie had her first episode with her lungs, the pneumonia, that Chuck and Sandra Burton took you and Emily while you went to the hospital, correct? And you said Emily was young.
I think they may have watched a little bit. She was
Could-
in.
Yeah, because she was my preschool teacher.
She was preschool teacher.
Yeah.
So I think she might have
No.
helped.
You were
Yeah.
you were in the elementary at that point. Emily was
Yeah.
in preschool.
Oh, yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
Sandra had
yeah.
her in preschool.
Yeah, because you had said Sandra
She
had
was
helped
4.
out during that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so she
Okay.
was 4,
all right.
so-
All right. Coming together. Stories coming together.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
anyway, back to First United.
It was about, we were there for probably, 5 years?
It was 5 or 6
probably
years we
till I
were
was
there.
about 10.
mhm.
Then it was about 2 years that we kind of,
Yeah,
we
left
just
it.
kind of stopped going, and then we didn't have a church home, really. We didn't really go anywhere.
Mhm.
We weren't really, like, seeking it out, really.
Mhm.
And then it was Cole, funnier enough, my best friend he's been my best friend. He still is. We 4 years old.
Mhm.
Just
I
right
love
around
it.
the corner. We're in the same
One
pre-K
block
class.
over.
We found out we're right around the block from each other. So it was just
Oh, that is crazy.
that's
I don't
how
know
it
if
is.
I
Like
knew that part.
we
And
didn't even
you-
have a whole lot like in common. It was just he was right there,
Yeah.
and we're in the same class.
Well, and Cameron. Right up the
Cameron
street,
was in
too.
the class with us, and he
Oh,
lived right
the
up the street.
trifecta.
So
Yeah,
3
so
of
it was
them
just
hung around each
It's love about
we
this
come
town.
home from school, and then we'd just pick one of the houses.
hanging out.
Well, and
and we'd show
if y'all
up.
have been following us at all, you've seen Cole over here because he is so kind and stops by and spends a couple hours with us when he
Yeah.
stops by. Sometimes we do
He's-
dinner, sometimes not. He's just a really good human.
He was second child, third child, pretty
Well,
much.
Yeah, there's those friends you have that they're not friends. He's a brother.
Yeah.
He's my brother. It's not. He's not my. I don't even want to say he's my best friend anymore. He's just another brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
'Cause
that. I
we've
saw
known each
that.
other for 21 years at this point.
Same with when Jake Tipton was here. I don't know if you guys were that close, but he and Cole talked quite a bit at the wedding.
Yeah, him and Cole and Jake were definitely a lot closer
Okay.
than me,
Closer.
Jake and I, because
But it's that same genuine
I
friendship.
didn't really.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I didn't really start talking to Jake until we started going to Solace, but
Nice.
we'll get to that. But because during that 2 years, we kind of really didn't do anything. It was 10 to like 12-ish, and then
hmm
Yeah. and
once
some-
we were at 12, I got to like 12, Cole started going to Solace,
Mhm.
or he had been going with his family.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we didn't really have anywhere to go, so he invited us to go on Wednesday night. to go-
Wednesday
You
nights.
and Emily? Or all of you?
I don't know if it was me
No, it was
and
just the
Emily. I
kids.
think it might have just been me.
Just-
We went to it was there when they were in the old building. There was just a small little.
You drove me
community. We
by
went
the old
to-
building, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. A little further.
Further
Okay.
back
Yeah.
in the neighborhood. Back
Got
there.
it.
We started going on Wednesday nights to the youth group.
And you guys weren't going yet. That's
No.
right. You said
Well,
it was
the thi-
Cole that got you,
the
and then
thing-
that got you.
Kind of rewind it
Oh.
just a little bit. The first United Methodist Church is I would say they're horrible about moving their pastors around.
Mm.
And the 2 or 3 that we got really connected to, we did like the Alpha course through, and then the other one was Tom, and then the other one was Greg. We got really like to know him really well. Well, they were like, "We need you elsewhere," so they just and shoot him off
Yeah.
to another church, and we're like,
Whoa.
"We got," and
We
it's
just
such
got
a
close to
big
him, yeah.
church that we were like, "We don't really know anybody now."
I didn't realize you guys lost a couple pastors there. So
Yeah,
where was
so it was
Pastor
just
Scott?
He's later on.
It's
That's a
awesome.
Solace. Yeah.
But anyway, just that's why we didn't have a church, because we were just like, "Oh, we don't there's no one here now that we even
Yeah.
relate to.
We don't know anybody anymore. Yeah.
Okay. So that's why that fizzled out. Okay.
And then they changed up their youth. We were doing the contemporary where they set up the chairs and stuff in the basketball court, basically on their other side. Because if you go to the original service, it's like hymnals, you're sitting behind the pew, and it's like the kids were like, no.
So they had two services?
And then we were, they had a contemporary, and then they had the traditional in the original building, and then the more contemporary was in the across the street in the gym, basically. Huge multi-million-dollar facility. So anyway, we just lost touch with there, so we just quit going.
Yeah. Well, so it just goes to show how important a community is at your church. Like it's a fellowship, it's your family.
Yeah.
You do life with them for real.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the only person we really knew there was James and Jill. So, and then,
is that what? Oh no, they were already going there because you knew James.
They've been going there for a long time. Yeah, they've been going there for a long, long time.
And that's why you guys had started going there. And then
he invited us to go, and then it just wasn't. God was just telling us this isn't where you're gonna
for sure
wind up. So we were like, okay, so we just left.
Well, and look what God did for you. That's so cool.
Yeah,
I guess I forget that Cole or that ball.
Yeah, back to Cole.
I mean, yeah, because it was the youth group that ultimately started it, because we were going to youth group. I think it was probably 2-3 months.
Yeah,
we had been going to youth group just every Wednesday.
I remember dropping you guys off and then picking you up, and Zach would be out front with the microphone. Who are you picking up? And Emily and David. And he, and he'd get on the mic. Emily, David, send them out, and then they would come
Zach
out.
Archer.
It's the big old take them to the football games, looks microphone. Like a traffic cone microphone.
Oh man,
so
I love this.
Send them
I love Oklahoma, y'all. My Ohio people, man, Friday Night Lights.
So they would come running out and get in the truck, and we leave. But so anyway,
it was after probably 3 months of going to youth group because I kind of stopped going, and Emily was the only one really going, and then that was when they were like, he was like, hey, let's go check out a Sunday morning service and just see what it's like.
Who, Cole said that, or your dad?
That's when my story comes in with the church, because we knew of the church, but it's like,
how did this happen? How did you start going?
Well, they were going, so I was familiar with the church. But
so when did you decide to start going? I don't know that I know the story.
It was November of 2013 when it was their Give Sunday weekend, where they gave all the the tithes were a giveaway, so everything they got just was given away to schools or charities or whatever.
Local
I just woke up, was like, let's go check it out. And I came up and asked Dave, and he's like, grumpy. He was like, no.
Wednesday nights was a different story.
Wednesday nights,
me and Mom didn't want to get up.
So I came up and got Emily up, and she's like, yeah, I'll go. So I was like, I just want to see what it's like.
Yeah. Because you'd been hearing about it now for 2 or 3 months.
We'd heard about it, So I was like, let's see what it's like. And
well, your son and your daughter are going. I mean,
that was the thing too. It's like, what are they getting fed over there? So, when I walked in the door, Jeff and JJ and all them were at the front door, and I was like, this feels like home. You could just tell when you walked in.
Yeah,
this is where I'm supposed to be.
That's foundation for me.
It's cool because it was the way the church was laid out. Is you would walk in, and then it's just one long hallway that would hook around and then go right into the auditorium. So you'd have like the youth, one of the youth rooms in the back corner. They had right as you walked in, they had a little cafe.
It was an old house. It was just converted into a church.
It was just one long hallway where people would.
It does look like an old house.
Where people would just stand on the side of up against the walls
kind of
and stuff.
Intimate, more intimate. Maybe.
Well, you're going by all the kids' rooms, first grade or first year, 1-year-olds to 3s up to 5s. And then you turn the corner, you're into the
so it's
sanctuary.
Super old school trusting, because y'all are just walking, because most churches are way more on lockdown.
There was none of that. No, you walk right through the front door and all the kids. I mean,
that just goes like good old boy day,
It's like walking through the hallway of school, high school.
Oh,
where you just walk through the hallway, they're all sitting, they're all standing on the sides, doing their own thing, but then it's like they're all they all know each other.
Yeah.
So as you're walking down the hallway, they immediately pick up on hey, they're new. We don't know them. So as we're walking down the hallway for the first time to go to the auditorium, it's every single person is stopping. It's like, hey, how's it going? It's everybody, because nobody knew. They
hadn't seen you.
Yeah, they didn't know who we were.
Wow.
That was ultimately what started it.
Yeah, it went from 13 people to when we started going, it was up to almost 600 people.
Wow.
They were doing 3 services, and they were like, this service has to get out of the parking lot so we can get the second service in to park. There's not a whole lot of
Wow, that's
parking.
amazing.
So it was crazy. So we started going.
You start going.
Mhm.
You go. Emily starts going. You and Mama start going.
Yeah, I think
She
it was
went-
the next week. You guys
She
got
went a
us
week
up.
or two. Yeah, she went a
Yeah.
week or two, and then me and Emily kept going, and then we're like, we're going. This is where we're going to keep going. And so they finally woke up and were like, all right,
All
we'll
right,
go with you."
cool. Get up and
That's cool.
we'll
It
get
didn't
up.
take them that long to jump on board. I mean, my
No.
God, what a life-changing decision to make. No,
I don't think it. I don't remember it being me just getting
FOMO,
up.
fear.
I don't even think it was me that got up. I was just laying in bed, and he came up and was like, "Hey, get up. We're going to church." And I was like,
well,
what?
how come I say, "Hey, take this collagen," and you won't do it? I was thinking, come on now. All right, sorry, y'all are catching the real deal here.
So continue, I guess.
How
Church,
did you start? I know you got involved in working with the 56ers or something. I stole that name from my gifted and talented at school.
At the old church, I didn't really do. I wasn't connected
anything.
really. Not like I didn't really do anything. I just kind of showed up.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
when
I
we
just
started
met
there,
people.
You need to show up to find out if it's even for
when we
you. I
started
think.
going, we didn't know they were building the new building.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. The one
And it
that
was
is
like
currently
3 months of us being there at the old building. They're
Yeah.
like, hey, we're doing this launch team. We need volunteers for the new church. And we're like, can we do that if we're not members? And they're like, yeah. And we're like, sign us up.
there. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So we were signed up to serve before we even became members of the church. And then in February of the next year, it was 3 or 4 months.
Something like that. Yeah.
We moved to the new church, to the big building.
And that was by that point I was.
You were in youth at that point.
7th, 8th grade.
Yeah, 8th
I was
grade.
going to say
Yeah.
13, probably.
Yeah,
I think I
7th,
was
8th grade.
I was probably
12 or
I
13.
think I was probably 8th grade, which is when I started.
Okay.
That was when I started really serving. And at that
Dude,
point,
what
I
a
was
good
doing.
time to get into church,
I
I
man.
was doing greeters at first
Mm-hmm.
because that's what you were doing.
Mhm.
And
That's
I
what
was
I
like,
signed up
I'll
for.
come help you out. I'll come stand at a door with you. So we both would stand at one of the doors, and that was what we did.
Fun fact, I didn't like talking.
Fun fact now, you knew.
It was.
Yeah,
That's why
I didn't
when
either.
we signed up.
Neither you still love it.
No, but
yeah.
that was for me to sign up for. That was getting me out of my comfort
Yeah,
zone.
for sure.
So it's like I'm going to do the one thing that's going to get me out of. It's going to stretch me a little bit. And door greeting, and meeting people is like I'm doing it. So that's what I signed up for.
Yeah.
I think I signed up for it just because I was. Everybody else was doing something. Like I think Emily was started at that point. Was trying to help with the babies.
Yeah.
I think
And
Mama did the
Mama was doing
coffee-
the coffee stuff.
coffee shop. Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to just sit around.
Right. Well, good.
I was like,
Thank you, Jesus.
Pick something. You have to do something.
I
Yeah.
was like, there's no point in me just sitting around. So like, I might as well do something. So I signed up to be a greeter because I figured we could stand at a door together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we
greet
did.
people.
How long did you guys do
We
that?
did that for six months until I moved on and
Yeah, you
started.
went back to they asked you to do
It
something.
was longer than that because it was 9th grade.
Mhm.
Once I finally hit high school, because that was when I really started getting involved in
Nice.
on Wednesday nights in the youth group, and then
Your senior picture where your back, the picture is from behind and your hands are up in the air and the light is on you.
Mhm.
Oh.
Brandy took those. That was the senior.
yeah,
pictures. that was when they
we
were
did that
warming
on
up.
a
It was
Wednesday
Wednesday
night before service.
That
So
was them
all the
warming up.
guys up front were already warming up for their worship set and all that. So we were just taking pictures.
Brandy's like, just do like you would
So normally
normally in a
me.
worship set.
That's the closest I have ever felt with the Lord is in that posture.
Yeah.
Or down on my knees, face down, like, help me.
I'll get to that.
Okay.
my stories for that. But
So
that was once I hit high school. That was when I really started to get involved. Because at that point, I stopped greeting because I didn't really like it because it wasn't. I didn't really care for
like,
it.
I don't want to talk.
Like I'm just
talk.
not a very personable. I'm not very
It's
personal
not for everybody.
person.
It's
So
not for everybody. No.
by then I was getting involved on Wednesday night, and I think that's when I started doing helping out the worship.
Mm-hmm.
Where they would do the guys that put the lyrics up on screen
Yeah.
and all that
Do
at
that.
church. That was me.
Oh,
I was the guy
think
on
you
Wednesday night.
mentioned that,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, he's doing the 50.
And then I was also helping out on Sunday mornings with the 5th and 6th graders called the 56ers.
Yeah, before all
I was
that,
doing the same thing in both of them,
Nice.
pretty
Nice.
much. But I was just helping out with the 5th and 6th graders on
And
Sunday
you were
mornings.
in 9th grade at this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's rewind just a smidge. You skipped over the transition from, I don't know when that was, from First United to Solace, when we actually still had park benches down at the pond where we live at.
Oh yeah, that
So
was
that's the
my
big.
my baptism, and then
Well, no, you're accepting Jesus in your life was tell that story.
Oh yeah.
So
Because that
was before we even left First United.
Yeah, you were still
Because
First United.
we hadn't left First United
I remember
yet.
you were still young when that happened.
I don't remember the actual like what led up to it. Like you know what I mean? Like the couple hours like before that. I know I was doing something. I went out to eat with Grandpa or something. We did something. I was with Grandpa, and then it was on the way back. We were just talking, coming back. Then one thing led to another as we're pulling around the bend to go into because at this time we still had the gazebo and we still had park benches at the pond.
Yeah.
They still took care of the pond, kind of nice. So we pulled around the corner. He was like, "All right, cool. Well, let's just do it right here." I was like, "What? Okay."
In that pond?
He was asking him, did he want to accept Jesus into his life?
That's the something we were just talking about. And then it was like we pulled around the corner. He was like, "All right, cool. There's a bench right there." It was like, so we went and sat on one of the benches, and it was that was.
You remember the
date? Ultimate start? No, I was 10. I know I was 10.
Wow, that's amazing.
I don't remember the date. It was spring. It was sometime in the spring.
Okay.
But I don't remember the exact date. I just remember
he walked you through a prayer.
Yeah.
What it meant to accept Christ in your life, and kind of explain that all to you. And then
because I remember coming back home just grinning from ear to ear, and he came walking around the corner. I was like, "What's up?" Then he got the full earful of everything that had happened.
Wow.
Yeah, and he had told us kind of what had happened.
That's an amazing feeling, isn't it?
It was pretty cool. But it's just the stories for like the stories for people accepting him are always kind of crazy. It's for every person. It's always, but it's from the moment I accepted him and my baptism, we're both like it was just like it was unreal. Like the baptism came later, but.
Yeah, mine did too.
That day was like it was just boom, 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 and it just happened. There's it's not really like we planned. We didn't plan anything. There wasn't anything. It just happened.
I think when the heart is surrendered and not so the older, I feel like the younger we can surrender, man, the more we save some of those hard, like those times I didn't have Jesus in my life when I lost my mom. Like I am so glad you did. I told Emily the same thing. I mean, it is never easy to lose your mom. Oh, here it comes.
Well,
it's faith like a child.
And
you're not hardened at that point. Your heart, the more years you let go by, you just get hardened.
Well, it's just the more stuff you see, and it makes it harder.
Yeah. Well, you don't
a whole lot harder to accept that there is good.
Once you have that experience with him, that encounter with him, where you know it was unmistakably him. And my giving myself to Christ and my baptism, I don't know if I can explain a lot of details about it, but I know exactly how I felt. And I know it was a move of God because I know my story. And it sounds like that happened for you too. And then life happens. And now you at least know who you can go to that is the only one that's going to give you that solace. The only one. I'm just so thankful you had it at 10.
Yeah. Well, it was, how many years later was it? I mean, we could find the date.
You got baptized with Mama.
Yeah. I don't remember the date. We have it. There's a Facebook video.
Your dad showed me.
Yeah. There's a Facebook video.
Huck baptized you guys.
It was, 9. We were still at the old building, right? At the time?
No, we were at the new building. It was either 8 or 9 years ago. 8?
Oh, wait, yeah, because you and Emily got baptized in the old building.
I know we got baptized in 2011 because it just popped up on my.
And then you guys were not long after.
Like a year after or so. Suze had been baptized when she was younger, but she was like, I want to do it again.
Yeah.
David's like, why haven't I been baptized yet?
So because at this point we were real good friends with Chuck and Sandra, so we asked.
Oh, that's so cool.
He drove 45 minutes because it was 45 minutes out to the lake. Yeah.
You need to text him and tell them they need to get their butts on this podcast.
Yeah, we were.
They're in the waiting.
That story.
They're in the holding cell.
Yeah. That baptism story might be like one of the craziest stories I've ever heard.
So we'll get to it. But okay, so
right.
You're walking
You're at
through
Solace, you are
serving, now
working
you're
with
in
the 56ers. You're helping with the lyrics on the screen.
on Sundays.
You are in 9th grade.
I mean, at that point, I basically just kept working 56ers, still heavily involved in the youth group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on
And
Wednesdays.
I mean, that's basically just what it was. It was 5 hours being up at the church every Sunday, and it was like another probably 5 hours on Wednesday night.
And how do you feel about that? Are those fond memories for you? Or how is that for you?
Yeah, I would say they're very, very fond memories.
You're getting up on Sundays. You're like,
yeah,
we had to be up there early.
Yeah, because we would wake up at 6:30 in the morning.
If you could do it as a 13-year-old, anybody can, right?
It rotated. They had enough people on the audio part back there.
But that you were doing that as a 13-year-old is awesome.
Doing the sounds and doing all that stuff on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Okay, and then so you guys are in Solace the whole time until graduation?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it didn't become Church of Christ until after I had
Church on the Move, yeah.
Or Church on the Move, yeah, until after I had
You'd already
left for the Air Force. So
yeah.
They were going to Solace up until I left in early 21.
I think we went there 7 years.
Okay, so 21 you graduated. Oh, yeah, 20.
No, I graduated in 2018.
Holy crikes. Okay, so do you want to talk about that? You graduated, you joined the Air Force in 21.
February 21.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that 3-year, 8, 9, 10, 11, 3-year. I'm not the math teacher. I'm not the math one.
I graduated. My plan originally, I felt a calling to help people. I've sat down, we've talked for hours just about what we feel my calling.
Mm-hmm.
This is my calling, is to help people. But then it was every time I talked about it, he was like, all right, well, let's figure out what that means. Because there's a lot that can
fall under
mean.
a lot.
Because in high school, I had even gone on a mission trip down to Ensenada, Mexico.
Well, tell us about that.
You went twice.
No, I only went once.
You went once?
Yeah.
I thought you went twice.
No.
You went twice. You went twice, dude. Yeah, you went twice.
I don't think I went twice. I think I only went once.
I'm pretty sure you went twice.
I don't know. Either way, I might have gone on two. But
I think you went two.
We went down to help support an organization that builds housing for low-income family.
Nice.
They don't have houses.
Where did you go?
It's Ensenada, Mexico.
Just south of Tijuana.
Okay. Yeah. So southwest.
It's a tourist destination in Mexico, but if you go it's 30 minutes outside of the touristy area. It's
not so touristy anymore.
I've been to Tijuana.
It's not so touristy
It's
anymore.
rough. Family was living in they had a couple pieces of cardboard and tarp.
Yeah, I saw that while I was in Tijuana.
Yeah, so
the whole neighborhood that they lived in was like that.
The cool thing is, the first time we went down there, I had just finished in junior year and senior year of high school. I took tech school for half the day, which was a program that allowed us to go to a tech school rather than stay at school all day.
That's right.
And I did construction, so I did carpentry and electrical work my senior year. I had just finished doing carpentry for the first one. Building a house was like
easy peasy.
I just learned how to do this. This is really cool. And then the next year, I had just learned how to do housing, electrical work, and all that. So whenever we went down there and they're putting in the outlets and all that, we had professional builders with us. They had professional builders in the program.
But you didn't need to be taught everything. You already knew.
I already knew how to do it. So it was kind of cool. I was just there to help. I could really help them. Mm-hmm. It was within a week span both times. Mm-hmm. We would have a house up and built. It's a real nice. It was a little a little 2-bedroom house.
Wow.
A little 10 by 12 or 12 by.
And how long did it take you guys?
It took us about a week.
It was the full week.
Wow.
The system was the volunteers showed up, all the material was there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was real easy to construct.
Yeah. We would just build it.
You were the work.
Enormous shed, basically. One, 2-pit pitch roof.
For them to go from cardboard, 4 little pieces of cardboard and a piece of tarp over their head to a fully drywalled out house that's
has lights.
It has lights in it. It has electrical outlets.
And running water in it. Did they put? Or were they still using buckets? They were still filling the 5 gallons.
I think they still had an outhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is a
That's
whole lot better than no
way
electricity.
Way better than
That's
what
still better
they
than
had
what they
rigid walls up and
But-
a roof on top.
Yes, yes.
I say all that because after that I felt my call, like I was just constantly kept feeling my calling while we were at Solace. Just I want you to help people.
Mhm.
I want you to help people,
Mhm.
but I could never really figure out what that was. And then I was like, all right, let's do this. I was trying tech school out. We went and built these houses for them.
Because you were thinking psychology.
And
You
then
wanted to
that
do
was when
psychology.
I none of that really felt right. So then I was like, all right, maybe he's calling me to try to help people because I've always been real good at listen. I've always been a real good listener.
Mhm.
I've never been good at actually like talking, but I'm real good at just listening to people and letting them vent. So
Your
I figured
dad, you're just like your
maybe
dad.
he's calling me to be a psychologist, like a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
To help people out in that way. But then I was taking schooling because we have a program. I don't know if you know about it, but the TCC program.
Yes, guys, my Ohio people. Anybody outside of Oklahoma. I've never heard of this.
It's outside of
I don't
Tulsa. As
Tulsa,
long as
yeah.
you live,
You have to be in Tulsa
as
County.
long as you're in Tulsa County for the full 4 years of you going to high school, you get to go to TCC for free.
Community college.
Community
you get
college.
a 2-year. You
With
can get
great
your associate's
programs.
degree.
It would be like any community
books.
college in Ohio that
Yeah.
you know of.
You can get it for
A
you get it
quality
for
one.
free.
You just have to pay for your books. Outside of that, you don't have to pay for your classes.
That's insane.
So I was doing that.
40 hours of community service.
Yeah,
for the
community
year.
service.
Nothing in repayment for 2 years of college.
Yeah, you get your
So I was
associate's
just
degree.
going downtown and feeding the homeless for
That's amazing.
a couple times
Helping
a year,
people.
and then boom, there we go.
Yeah.
That's my community college. But I took 3 semesters of it, and then it was by the end of it, I just wasn't showing up to class because I just didn't like it. It was, it just didn't. It
Wasn't jiving
it
with
didn't
you.
fit. After that, I was in like a place where I'm just sitting around, not doing a whole lot, and then they're
Tried a
like, you
bunch
need to
of
at least go
different
get a job. Like you need to like start figuring something out.
Yeah. How
So
old are
then
you
I
at this point?
I was
19, 20,
late night
20,
19.
19, 20.
Yeah, because the end of the year 2019 to 2020 was whenever I got the seasonal job at Target.
Because he dropped out of school. He's like, school's not for me. I go, okay, well, you're going to have to find a job then. What are you going to do?
Yeah. So I went and got
something.
a job at Target for seasonal. They didn't keep me on. So I got with Papa. He was
Sam's Club?
He was working at Sam's Club at the time. So he was like, why don't you come work over here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I got a job at Sam's Club, but then I called in one too many times, so they fired me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just sitting in the car. I called him right after I got fired. I was sitting in the car. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I just messed this up. Like, college didn't feel right. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then he's like, well, why don't you just pray on it? We'll just come home. We'll talk tonight. We'll pray on it.
Yeah.
So then I don't know what it was, but that night I went to bed and then woke up the next morning. I had this like tugging. Cole had joined year before me.
Yep.
So it was all his fault. He's the whole reason
Hey, that dude helped you get to church. I'm down.
Well, we had talked. I had mentioned it before, and I was like, "There's absolutely no shame in going into the military."
Because
oh my goodness,
because Cole he had joined, but he was
in for like a year, right?
Yeah, he joined a year before me. So, but it was in my head. It was this, like you see all the movies, you see all the military, like you just see it's like that's not for me. I'm too squishy. I'm too it's not for me. I couldn't do that.
Introverted.
I wouldn't be able to do that. Then I was like I might as well just go talk to a recruiter and see what happens. So then all of us went. Emily went.
Oh, I don't know.
All 4 of us went.
I don't know
they
that
took
I've
me
ever
up to the
heard that.
recruiter to talk to him.
Yeah, he's like, I want to help him. I was like, we'll go with you. He's not going to cost you and keep you in the building.
Because I was scared of him.
Yeah.
I was scared of him
having you sign something and then you're like, I'm
pulling the
in.
wool over my head.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go talk to him and see what.
Surely. Well, that's a huge commitment. I mean, it's
6 years
it's
of
huge
signing
commitment.
your life. Well, you're signing on the dotted line.
Well, and potentially, I mean, I can say this, potentially being in harmful situations, potentially.
You sign up for the wrong job.
Anybody
you sign up for the military, which is part of it. But I come into it with this notion that it's not for me. I won't be. I'm too squishy for that. I wouldn't be able to do that. But after talking to the recruiter for a little bit, he was like, "We have jobs that are basically just like on the outside of the military. Like you could do construction. if that's what you wanted to do, since
Nice.
you've had training in it.
Mhm.
Huh.
So that was ultimately what I ended up doing. He
You're
gave
like,
me an
okay.
option. It was like, hey, you can pick 5 different jobs. If
Mhm.
you can make them all electrical jobs, you'll get one of them.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that
they
was
have a list of
there's-
jobs.
electrical?
it's
No,
not even
just
just like it's just
jobs.
jobs.
Okay.
It's a crazy list.
They're colored.
Did boot camp stink? Because that would be my part. I mean, I think I missed my calling. I should have been in the Air Force.
I can't really say too much because my
Air Force.
my boot camp I joined during COVID. So we were
Oh.
only there for 6 weeks. We weren't there for 8 weeks.
And it was like
There was a lot of stuff we didn't have to do because of it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
you didn't have to do the.
I didn't have to
gas
do the gas
chamber.
chamber. We were only
I
at
might
stressing
lose it on
about
that,
that.
one. I mean,
Oh,
because
dude.
you have to wear something on. No, you do.
There was a lot of us that were mad that we didn't get to do it.
I bet, because it's probably like a rite of
Well,
passage.
it's something you never get. You're never going to get to experience that ever again.
No.
Like, when are you ever going to get tear gassed?
So
So
we moved to Korea.
that's
Your gas
Pal,
all-
pal,
fair.
pal.
No, but
I could go
I
sit on
do
a
remember
program.
when you got when he showed you the list. I'm like, okay, we need to take those home, and then you need to, because he told you to pick 10.
Yeah.
He told you to pick 10, and I go, okay, the ones you pick, we need to look them up and look the description up
Love this
online
man. Master researcher.
because you need to
Yeah.
be. Well, that's from my older brother and sister were in the Air Force.
Oh,
And they were.
that's
They just
right.
got stuck on
Mhm.
something, and they both told me you need to be specific and look
Thank
the
you, Chris and
descriptions up.
Becky,
Yeah.
for
So
helping.
we sat down on the computer and looked up what he signed up for, and I was like, okay, this is what you're going to be doing in that job description.
Mhm.
And then the other one was, if you're going to sign up for those, they're going to train you, get trained to do what you're doing, but
Mhm.
also be able to use it outside in civilian
Yeah,
world.
that was
Yeah.
so
So
smart.
Get
You have
trained
such a smart dad.
and then
Yeah.
move, and then you could retire from there in 20
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
and go right into American
For
Airlines
sure.
or something and
Or
get
something
another
with
pension,
long,
you know.
a
Yeah.
little more freedom-ish, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, if you're
so,
going to get trained, it just made sense to me to get
Yeah.
trained on
Yeah,
something
yeah.
you're going to continue to be able. You can use it if
So
you
you
want to.
signed the dotted line.
Well,
What were the top 3 jobs you picked?
my top 5 were all electrical jobs. They're
All
all different.
electrical.
All different. One of them was like construction electrical, and it's like, one of them was like they work on the radios on the planes and blah 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 blah, and then one of them happened to be doing electrical work, but it's just for the plane rather than on a building.
So you didn't know which one you were going to get.
Nope, I didn't know.
It was
They-
10.
They would get, then they worked it down to 5,
Then
and
he
then they
sent him back
said,
home. Pick out 5 now.
yeah.
That's so respectful.
But then you go through all of basic, you're like, I have no idea which one I've got. And then at the last week of basic, they give you a sheet of paper and they go, it's your job.
Oh, it's like, did I get into the college or not, man?
And then they show you a slideshow and it's like, this is what that job is. And we're like,
You're like, great.
Here we go. Hope I like it. Hope I like it.
all right.
Well, the list it's color coded. So it's like, these are demand now. Like if you
Yeah,
sign
yeah.
up now, I can have you on a bus
Next week.
and
Yeah.
you're going to boot camp
Oh.
and you're going straight into this job. And
Oh.
some of them were 3 months.
Wow, that's so
waiting.
like I am meaning no disrespect here, but I hear that other parts of our military branches are not so much
No, well, what they told
like
him,
that.
they told
No,
him was
all their recruiting processes are a little
different. What they told him was Air Force, if you sign up for that job, that's what you're going to be doing.
Okay.
Navy is the same way.
Yeah.
Army and Marines,
Maybe not.
if you
You
sign
sign
up to
up
be a
for it.
tank, whatever, you're ultimately an infantryman. So if they need you in the front
Mhm.
line, you're getting a gun and you're
That was originally what I was thinking about doing.
You wanted to work
I
on
wanted
tanks.
to join the Army so I could work on tanks.
tanks.
But then
When
Cole, I talked to Cole, and then
I'd really wanna
he
throw
told
up.
me about. He's like, just go talk to an Air Force recruiter, and then
The
you'll figure it
recruiter's
out.
like-
Recruiter's like, we can't guarantee. Army can't guarantee jobs. That's not like they that's just not
Mm.
something they can do.
Okay.
But we
you're
can guarantee
infantry.
that we'll give you 5 jobs.
Well,
Well,
I
they said
guess,
10, and then it went down to 5. But
yeah.
you'll get guaranteed
A
one
job.
of these jobs. So you can pick
Wow.
nice jobs that you want, like one of the ones that you will end up wanting.
That's
You will get
nice.
one of them,
You'll never be put on the front line. You'll be on a base.
unless you choose to be. Yeah.
Well, I mean, through going through the Air
Yeah.
Force, you
Yeah.
will be. So anyway,
Whew.
just
that
some
was-
fun facts. If you want
I
to join
know,
the
fun
military.
facts.
That was
Okay,
what
so-
led to that was what all ended up leading up to me leaving.
Mhm.
Yes. So you signed the dotted line. You are 19 years old, 20.
20. I left at 20.
We dropped him off at the recruiter.
And then I went up
I
to
would cry
Oklahoma
too.
City. Yeah. So I get to the hotel that night, and it was like as soon as I got there, my mom's on the phone calling me. Like,
Well,
okay?
like I
You
cry
okay?
every time
Yeah.
you leave.
Well,
Like,
she was-
now.
She was
struggling with
She
it.
was
I
pretty
would struggle.
upset, and
I think I would too.
I think I've told you that she
I
was
was
kind of.
I was her first kid, so it's
Yeah.
one of those. She's just
And there's, I mean,
Yeah.
she and Emily have her own relationship, but don't ever be mistaken. There's something about a mama's heart for her son.
mhm.
You know, like my heart I love my niece Christine. I also love her son, who, you know, it's just a different thing. Boys
Yeah.
have a different demeanor to them,
Mhm.
Well,
and it's a
yeah,
whole different relationship.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think I told you the story. She was pretty pissed at me. She blamed me for you leaving and joining the military. I mean, we had wasn't really an argument. She was just like
Mhm.
Yeah.
got hot at me and was blaming me for you leaving. I'm like, he's a grown adult. He's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Well, what would you
And
say to
then-
Mama today if you could tell her your perspective on the Air Force? And
I mean, it's been. I've said this before. I'll say it. So the day I retire, it was the best decision I've ever made. Outside of the day that I accepted Jesus, but
that's what I heard you say to
It's
my fifth graders last year.
it's the second best decision I've ever made because
Yeah.
I truly was not. I had no plan. I had no idea what I was.
Yeah.
No idea what I was doing. I was just.
Yeah.
I was just.
It pushed
Existing.
you and put
Mhm.
you and stretched you in different ways that you weren't
Yeah.
ready to.
I've met.
Like you said, I don't think I can do this because I'm too squishy. Well, it's like, well, you weren't too squishy.
Well, but something
I
I
made it
noticed the other
through,
night
and you
with
made
the
it through.
video game, the competition you were sharing with us.
Mhm.
What is that called?
the
League of-
esports. Yeah,
And they were playing League of
Legends.
League of
yeah.
Legends. So what I noticed about that is your mind works a lot like his mind, and both of that baffles me. It's like this engineering / electrician mind that can see 4,000 things and not be strategy where it needs to go, what needs to happen, and I break down. Like my ADHD
much
brain is like,
ADHD.
"Ugh." So you working on the plane and doing electrical for the plane makes perfect sense to me, and it's
Mhm.
like, that's why I'm glad that I had this time to be home with you, because I got to kind of see
Well,
that.
That's the funniest thing to me is growing up. He's always worked on cars.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of liked cars, but I've never really been into cars like he was. He tried real hard, but I just never was interested in it. But now it's funny because I come back and it's like anytime we talk about it, it's like I basically work on cars. I basically do. It's almost the same thing. It just flies,
You guys, we got to go.
which is so funny.
We got to go to visit David March of last year. Spring
Yeah.
break, we drove out there. It was such a great trip. We were there, 4 days?
4 days.
We got an Airbnb not far from you.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see David's apartment and just go around everywhere. What was that mountain we went up? Mount Lemon?
Mount
Lemont, whatever.
Lemon.
Lemon.
Yeah.
Cactus everywhere, cacti everywhere. And we just kind of got to be in your world for a little bit. And that was such a cool experience.
Yeah, it was.
Such a cool experience. But we got to go on his plane. We got clearance. I got security clearance and got to go on the plane. It was so cool seeing. I mean, that thing was gigantic, but it's so cool that we got to see it and just be a part of it. And it did feel a little Top Gun-ish because I got to, just be in a hangar and hear these fighter jets taking off. That was awesome. But just to be in your world was very special for us. Okay, I digress.
So if you leave February and then tech school, well, you went through boot camp, then tech.
The boot camp at the end of basic on that last week, you're not really doing anything basic related.
It was
You get to
COVID.
go out of town. You get to go out on the town. Your family members get to come down.
It was COVID.
You get to go out and
COVID.
see stuff.
Yeah.
But because of COVID, we didn't get to do any of that.
Dang it.
So I didn't get to have anybody down for graduation. I didn't.
There's a picture of you guys with masks.
That's
You
in
went.
tech.
That's
He
in
went
tech
straight
school.
he went straight from basic to tech school. So
I
now
didn't.
he's
Nothing.
getting
I didn't get to do
trained.
any of that. Any of that stuff because of COVID, which is
Basically
what it
like-
is. but-
Basically, like leaving high school, going straight into college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I left there and then went a couple hours up north.
That's
Okay.
where he got trained.
It's a training base.
training base, so he got trained on the plane.
But that's where I went. I spent 4.5 months there learning my job.
Okay.
I spent time being like a leader there.
Mm-hmm. At that time, were you practicing to work on the exact plane that you would eventually work on? Or
Not
was it many different?
not necessarily because my career field we work on basically everything. So it's
Mm.
more of a an
Basics.
overarching. This is how you read a blueprint. This is how you repair a wire. There's like, just basic like.
Got it. So
this is how you're going to do your
know.
job. And once you get to your
Base
unit, like your first unit, you'll get to see what
Then they
plane you're
train you.
working on. No,
Oh,
They
man.
train you specifically on.
a bunch of little presents
I
to
left
open.
tech school thinking I was going to be working on A10s because that's how my orders.
Well, he didn't.
That's what my orders had said.
He didn't fill his dream sheet out.
No. So they gave me a random base. I didn't fill out my. They give you the ability or the option to fill out your dream sheet.
Okay.
Which is like a dream list of what bases you'd want.
How many do you get to pick?
I was too lazy to fill it out, so I didn't fill it out.
All right. How many do you get to pick from? I want to know.
It's like a list of like 5. It's like 5.
Anywhere in the world
5,
you could put down any Air Force base.
5 overseas, 5 over here, and then they'll pick one of them.
And I was like,
I
which
didn't
one?
pick one.
I was like, which one are you going to go to? You
I didn't
fill it out.
Fill it out.
What?
So at the end of tech school, they're giving out your orders to tell you where you're going to go, and on the
it was
orders,
worth
it tells you which unit you're going to. So we looked up on the internet. You can look up on the internet each unit, and you can kind of see what planes they have, most part. So we looked it up, and we had seen that the unit was A10s because it was just showing the wing.
Yeah.
I realize now, but at the time, I thought that was my unit, not the wing. And the wing which is like a couple levels above unit. So like the unit is in the wing.
Yeah, I bet.
So I thought I was going to go to work on A10s.
You showed me an A10 when we were there,
Which is
didn't
what
you?
he wanted to work on.
Those are what
If I'm
work
gonna
on,
work
'cause
on a
Is that the one
plane,
with the double wing? The A10s?
It's
the one with the big Gatling gun.
Big old Gatling gun in front of it.
It's like
Yeah,
me trying to
gun
talk
in the
about
nose of it.
horsepower. It's not going to work.
We'll show you later. But I thought I was going to go work on the A10, which I was super pumped about because that was my like dream. I didn't get to work on tanks. That was what I wanted to work on. Was an
that's
A10.
the tank killer.
Yeah.
Those are tank killers.
So I was like, oh, that's gonna be so cool.
Didn't
Like,
know
dude, you got the
Then-
plane you wanted anyway. I was like, sweet.
Then
All
I
right.
get there, and
Nope.
the way it works is you have a sponsor. So your sponsor is a guy that's at the unit already. And
Did we meet him?
No.
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
With his
My
kids.
supervisor. He was. my
Yes,
sponsor.
he was so
Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's his? We don't.
Not him. He was another guy.
Another guy.
I think you only saw him for like a passing moment. But,
Yes, in the hallway.
yeah. So he's my sponsor. So I get there, and I meet him at the gas station because that's where we're meeting at the gas station on base, so he can show me to where my room's at and all that.
You have all your stuff in your car. in your
Yeah.
Jeep.
So I pulled up to.
Oh,
I pulled up.
gosh.
I
Yeah,
pulled
'cause
up
he
and
loaded
parked
his
in the dorms.
Yeah, like welcome to college.
And then
Welcome
I hopped in his car so he could show me around the base.
Aw,
So
that
I'm
was
asking him
nice.
questions like, have you gotten to see the A10s like shoot or anything like that? Have you got to do any of that? And he's like, no. He's like, we don't work on the A10s. I was like, no, what? I thought I was working on the A10s. And then we got to the unit and he was like, no, we work on C-130s. So I was like, oh, okay.
But you guys call them the heavies?
Yeah.
It's
both
a heavy
cargo
airframe.
plane.
So you're like,
But
great.
that's what I work on. So I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it ended up being great because I love all the guys at the unit. I love them.
Yeah,
But-
your roommate is in your
You're
unit.
like, great.
Yeah.
Different shift.
I've met a lot of cool people. The military's been really good.
Yeah.
Well, and when you get to take trips, you seem to really enjoy your time with the guys.
Yeah,
Like
guys,
it's a
that's
bonding.
definitely one of the
thing.
best. So I kind of feel bad for Cole for the job he got because he doesn't get to deploy really. So
Yeah.
he doesn't.
He
Those
gets to come home more
experience
often, though.
That's true, but the deployments are like
Yeah.
those are the times where you get to really like
When you're
meet
young.
people.
Yeah, when you're young.
Well, that was one thing too. That's I think hopefully
you don't
helped
have a
you
ton
out
of
is getting to
bills.
see
Yeah.
the world outside of Tulsa,
Miss
Oklahoma,
my calling, y'all.
outside of
Good.
Berry Hill.
It's been great.
So-
One of my favorite stories.
Okay,
is
let's hear it.
we get to he picks me up, so now we're leaving and I get to.
Tech, yeah,
we're leaving tech school, but my mom doesn't know. She doesn't know. All she knows is he came down to see me graduate. She doesn't know when I'm coming back up.
Oh.
we were trying to surprise her.
So we get back up
Aw.
there, and he's like, or was it? We had Emily go get her and then take her out to eat at Ted's.
Yeah, but we told her, hey, we're not going to be able to leave. His graduation got delayed until like 4 in the afternoon, so we're probably not going to be home until like way late, like 11, 12 o'clock.
Nice.
So as we were getting closer, I'm texting Emily, okay, get her to a restaurant and
Get her
we'll
to
show
get her
up.
to Ted's. Get her to go out and do something.
Yeah.
Tell her you just want to go out and eat.
Yeah.
Something.
Oh, she could do that.
It was pretty funny.
So you went to
'cause
Ted. They
we
were at
she went to
Ted's.
Ted's. They got like you go in and it's right around the
Table,
corner, and
yeah.
then they're sitting right there.
Yeah.
So she couldn't see me come in.
Oh, perfect.
So I walk in and she has her back to me. I
Yeah.
walk in right up behind her and I like tapped her on the shoulder, and she kind of like looked over, and then I like peeked
screamed?
my head around. She didn't.
No, she
she
actually
didn't really react all that much. Really,
Yeah,
she
you were
kind of looked
like-
up at me and was like,
You're like, what?
and
What?
she's like, oh, and then she got up and hugged me. So
She was
but
probably in shock. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
I think Emily's reaction to me coming home for the first time,
Yeah.
or it would have been for the second time, right? Not for me
Mhm.
showing up for the funeral, but the time after that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Time after that, I surprised her. Just showed up.
Aw.
Showed up and had him. We even like so we had the ring,
that's
the ring
right.
at the time, so he like
Covered it up.
Covered it.
up the doorbell and everything, so I could show up, so she wouldn't. It wouldn't go
That's
off when I got there.
perfect.
Yeah, because she didn't see me picking him up from there.
They were over at Grandpa's house. It was what, Thanksgiving. We got there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we went over to
And that was your
Grandpa's
first time
house.
home since Mama passed.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
So we pulled up and walked in.
That
She's in the
probably
kitchen
was-
eating like normal.
I was
Walked
like,
up.
oh wait, I forgot something in the car.
Yeah. Had him go in first.
An old
yeah.
cake tray or something, and I was like, I forgot something in the car. I
Yeah.
went back out. I go, oh, I found something while I was out there, and he comes walking around the
Aw.
corner.
She lost it. It was
Oh,
so funny.
and nobody
'Cause she-
recorded it.
Well, because she'd been not struggling, but she was having to walk through
Mm.
You just lost your mom.
all
Mhm.
that.
Just
and-
lost your mom. Come on now.
which we can kind of work into that because you left in February tech school,
Mhm.
you drove, and then in November,
It was later than that. I left tech school in August, late August. Showed up on,
Yeah.
it was like September 8th. I
Right.
showed up
November,
at the
3
unit,
months later.
okay,
and then it was not even
yeah,
2 months later.
Right.
I was
End of October is when she went into the
Yeah.
hospital.
yeah.
February 13th is when she passed.
because I was
November.
fresh.
November.
I was fresh. I was new kid, but everybody could notice. Like everybody knew, like was noticing there's something going on.
Well, he
And
couldn't
I
take
was-
leave. He was like, I mean, he
I was like, I
could've.
just got here. I don't know if I can take leave.
yeah.
So I was just kind of living with it, knowing the fact that she's in the hospital.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But then it was when he texted me and was like, "Hey, you might need to come into town. She's not looking good."
Mhm.
That was whenever I was like, we're on the flight line at the time, working on the plane,
Yeah.
and I just started breaking down.
Mm.
I was like, "Ooh, not good."
Mhm.
And one of my tech sergeants looked over and was like, "Are you okay?" That was when I sat down with him and told him everything, and he was like, boop. And next day they had me on a plane.
Mm.
They
Had your
they,
back.
they said we're getting you on a plane tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, boop boop. Here's all the paperwork. Here's that. You don't need to fill that
Mhm.
one out. We're giving you leave. We're not even going to make you like you're not using your own leave. Like you're
Oh,
going for
man.
Leave. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I remember having the conversation with you, and you said, "Well, I don't want to see her like that anyway." So
I don't want to come back unless it's truly like it's time.
gone.
Which is when he texted me and I was like, all right, I'm on my way.
Mm-hmm.
So how long after that conversation and them drawing up the papers and giving you their leave time did Mama pass?
She passed before I got there. I know that
You
much.
think I
I
called?
showed up for the funeral is what ended up happening.
Well, no, I called you. I don't think you had put in leave, or you just said, "Let me know, keep me updated."
Well, because
Yeah.
this was a 2-week time period, just so y'all know. But from
Yeah.
the
2 weeks
time
she
that
was
she
in
got
the
sick and went in the hospital,
hospital,
it was
right.
2 weeks
Yeah.
later
So I think
that she passed. I think it's
Yeah.
important that everyone knows that it's a
I
very
think
short
when I
amount of
called
time.
you and let you know that she had passed, I was like, and then I think you told them, "Hey, okay, she passed. I need to go." And then
I
that's
got
when
I
they were
gotta
like,
go. Yeah.
they were like, "Get him."
Yeah. They even
here.
sent flowers to the funeral.
Oh.
The unit did. It was.
I really enjoyed meeting them when we were there as well. There
Mhm.
were, you could tell they were jokesters. You could tell they're
Mhm.
military dudes,
It's.
but you could also tell they're squishy
It's they.
in the right way.
They know how I put this. They know how much it sucks because it's like they know they're away from their family too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
if you
like
get
whenever stuff happens like this, they're like, "Oh yeah, go,
Go.
Bond
get out of
together.
here. We do not
Amen.
need you here."
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
You weren't gonna be good for anybody
they're
anyway.
like, "No,
Mm-mm.
Your mind was
you're not
somewhere
going to be
else.
able to work right now, anyways. Like, go."
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they said that when they did. Do you? Tough question alert. Do you have any regrets about not coming home earlier or not mentioning it to
No,
the?
absolutely not. If I had shown up, it would have just been worse.
Mm.
Because me being at work, going through they were here.
Mm.
They got to see her in the hospital. They got to go through all that. If I was here, I would have been going through the same thing.
Mhm.
Just sitting here,
Yeah.
just nothing going on, just watching her just diminish. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do
there's
about it.
nothing I can. There's no reason for me to be there.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
So I know
I felt
that
it better to be still at work, not really distracting myself, but like processing it,
yeah,
letting myself process what's going on
yeah,
in my normal everyday routine.
yep.
Mhm.
Because if I'd taken myself out of my routine, I would have just been sitting here all day, just stressing.
Mhm.
At least during my normal routine, I could wait for updates from him,
Yeah.
and
Plus, you got early on, you got the message and the clarification and the confirmation early on that you did the right thing. You made the right choice because you had brothers stand in for you
Yeah.
Mhm.
in the gap when you needed them, and you stand in the gap
Mhm.
for them when they need it.
Mhm.
And that's good to have that
Yeah.
fellowship outside of your blood family, just
But-
like church, having that fellowship in church, knowing that those people sincerely have your back and do life with you.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
that was one of the things I was worried about when you came back, was like seeing, well, just coming back anyway, and then seeing her in the casket, because it's like the last time you saw her was like probably on a FaceTime or something. I knew that was gonna be hard.
my last text, which that's probably the only thing I regret. Which I don't even know if I really regret it. It's more so just kind of like, it kind of sucks that was my last message to her.
Mm.
Yeah.
I did get to talk to her afterwards. He let me talk to her, but
Mhm.
my actual last text message to her,
When
which I
she
still
was
got it,
coherent.
was she said she got COVID and she was off work for a week, and I was
Mhm.
like, I was just like, oof, like that sucks.
Yeah.
But that's your personality. There's
Yeah,
there's I don't know.
But it's just like, it's just
Yeah.
But I got to talk to her and
Yeah.
then tell her, like, to really talk to her. So
Talk about that conversation.
basically, just told her everything that I normally would say. Just, I love you.
Mhm.
Don't be scared. Don't worry about me. Kind of that stuff. So
Yeah, because at that point she was in a CPAP
Mhm.
mask, and we had gone through it with her. Well, it's going on 18 years now, 17, 18 years ago.
Mm.
So I didn't say I could see the writing on the wall, but it wasn't trending in the right direction, because she was on oxygen and then more oxygen and then more
Yeah.
pressure. And it was like, this isn't going, like, less oxygen. And then the nurse was giving me the eye, like, when I walked in there
Yeah.
before they transferred her. I was like, well, that's not a good.
Well, you had a
That's not a good,
conversation with the nurse as well. You said she was a bit abrasive, but yet she was speaking the truth of what she knew by her experience.
Well, it was just when they got her down to Yukon, when they transferred her to Yukon, she was still in the CPAP machine. And that's when they'd already talked to her about putting her on the vent if she needed to be on vent. And she said yes. And then they told me that she said yes. I'm going, okay, well, she's already made the decision for herself.
Yeah.
So no one else can, like, no, you're not going on the vent. So I just had the intuition. I mean, the Holy Spirit was just like, you need to, if she's going on the vent, then she's not going to be able to talk to him. So, and David being in Tucson, it's like,
Yeah.
just put the phone up to her ear. And then that's when I called him. I was like, I don't know if this is going to be the last time you talk to her or not, where she's coherent, but you need to say what you want to say to her. So I just put it up to her ear, and she just kind of was listening to it.
Did she have
with the machine.
reactions? Was she still coherent? Was she
Yeah,
speaking
she
to
was
you?
she could still talk through that CPAP, but it was just blowing so much pressure into her lungs. And then when she started to try to talk and stuff, her O2 sats would go down, so she'd start coughing. So she would just sit there and listen. And I did the same thing with Emily, because she didn't ride down there with us. It was like, I don't know, if she goes in
Yeah.
an event, she definitely is not going to be able to talk to you.
Mhm.
So
So
I just
you-
remember standing outside the hospital going, hey, you're looking good. I mean, she just wasn't in good shape at that point. So
you told her you loved her. You told her not to worry about you. What
Pretty
is
much.
going through your mind at this time?
Honestly, weirdly enough, like, how do I put this? I wasn't worried.
Mm.
Put it that way. I had I just had peace, because I had already kind of moved. I had built my own life.
Yeah, in
On the other side of the
Tucson.
country. Like, I already had
Okay.
a bunch of other people, so it was a little bit easier, because I'd already kind of not really separated, but like I had a new life going.
It was a natural thing that happened because
so like
of
it was a
going in the
little
military,
easier
yeah.
for me to move on, I think, or to accept what had happened. So I wasn't
think that's
I wasn't really too worried about it. So I just kind of let her know how I feel. It wasn't.
Did you believe at that
Wasn't a big
moment that
deal.
you were going to lose your mom?
I think from the moment she kind of got it, I had known, like, this is not. I don't feel this is going to go well.
How old were you when she had pneumonia the first time, when she was in the hospital for a week?
that's when he was in
Do you remember that?
First grade, second grade.
Do you remember that at all?
The only thing I really remember is waking up to the ambulance.
Gosh, that had to be scary.
And then me being in the hotel afterwards when Grandma came and picked us up, and it was me and Emily. Yeah, me and Emily in the hotel. That was pretty much it. That's all I remember.
They weren't up at the hospital that much.
Yeah,
that,
wise.
there
I'm certain at that age, yeah. But I'm sure the ambulance coming to the house was scary enough.
Picking her up, yeah. And
Wow.
then that was the other thing, is when I didn't even think about it when we came to pick you up from the airport. And then when you walked into the house the first time, I was like, holy cow, he just walked into the house and his mom's not here.
Oh, man.
That's when it hit me. I was like, ooh, okay, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on him and see how he's going to react here.
No, the only time I cried was on the way leaving the funeral. It wasn't even at the funeral. It was leaving the funeral whenever we pulled into the house afterwards.
Yeah.
I got out of the car and I just was like, nope. And it all just...
Yeah. Well, it's got to come out. I mean,
that was the only time. After that, since then, it's just peace. You know, I know where she's at. Like, there's no the way I see it. And I think that's probably the reason it's been so easy. Is the way I see it is if I had lived like anybody else kind of does whenever they lose a family member, where it's just they shut down. They don't know what to do. Like, they're gone. I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah, it's a
she
real
wouldn't
thing.
want that. Like, she'd be kicking me in the butt. Like, she would hate it if I was acting like that. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm living my life.
Yeah, she would be
she
so
would
proud of
be
you,
so mad at me if I had just gotten stuck.
Yeah.
Not knowing what to do because of it. So I was like, all right, cool. Everything I do from now on makes her happy.
I think that's the thing that I am so enamored with all of you guys, and that the Lord did for me, is that Jesus makes the entire difference. Knowing that my mom, and I did not know this when my mom died. My mom died May 1st will be 29 years. I was 20 years old when she died. I did not have Jesus in my life at that time. In fact, I was already drinking and using drugs at that age. And so I was, in my own little world, but still best friends, close, really, really close with my mom, and had no idea what was about to happen in my life, and everything changed. You thankfully had Jesus. You knew where your mama was going. I had no idea. So I didn't have any, I held on to drugs and alcohol. Not good choice. Not a good choice. But I watched how you and Emily, it's been a slower process with me getting to see how you have processed everything. Even Emily, and I believe that you have done the same thing for me as we're spending time together, have welcomed me with open arms. It's okay for me to be just who I am. I've never known that. That is all Jesus, and that's you guys living that way.
That's another funny story too, and how I first found out about you. I don't know if you've heard this. I don't know if you've heard the story.
I think I've sideways heard the story,
but it's a funny story.
You were in a different location.
I was deployed at the time.
Yes.
We didn't have internet, like basically anywhere.
I remember you telling me that.
There's a couple spots around the base where you could go get internet. I had walked there because we didn't on that day we had a day off, so I was like, okay, walked over to the internet spot where I usually hang out so I can kind of get on the internet and just reload everything and just see what's going on. And I had seen Facebook post after Facebook post, just notifications from him. And I was like, what's going on? He usually doesn't post on Facebook this much. What's happening? And I clicked on it and was like, kind of saw it, looked at it, and noticed that it was about you or something. And then I was like, okay, and just kind of kept scrolling. And then turned my phone off, walked back over to go get something to eat. Then was like, wait a minute. Walked back over to the internet spot and was like, boop, whoa, hold on. And then I was like, okay, cool.
I hadn't had it because he was deployed. I didn't have a chance to talk
I remember
to
you
about
telling
it
me
yet.
that you couldn't say anything.
He had talked to Emily, but he hadn't said anything to me yet. So
he's like, I
was
guess.
just like, okay.
Well, I even asked you, are you sure you should post that without making sure you talk to him? He's like, he'll be fine. I'm like, oh, God.
I'll talk to him.
I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And then went about my day. And then the next day, I got back in the internet zone. And he was like, hey, you have time to talk? I was like, sure. He called me. He was like, what do you think about it? I was like, dude, I don't care. Like, did she make you happy? Are you happy about it? Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. I don't know.
I'm
So
just,
that was like the whole that was how I found out about it. And I was like,
I don't think you intended it for it to be that way, but
no, it was just funny because I just scrolling
'Cause that'd
Facebook. I
been
was like, wait a
2
minute.
that'd only been 2 weeks.
yeah.
Because I remember
Yes.
it showing Emily, because I was like, hey, we need to talk when you get home. She's like, oh, God, what happened?
Days in, and you and I were already talking about what is the Holy Spirit doing. Remember,
Yeah.
we went back and looked.
Yeah, and
I
I
felt
was,
like it was way longer than nine.
and I was just
days.
like, I just need to talk to her. And because Pam had told me, she goes, well, if you guys are talking, at least have the respect for them to let them know that
Yeah.
you're at least talking to
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
So I was, showed Emily the picture, and she goes, okay, what? And I was like, we're kind of talking. She goes, okay, all right. I was like, well, I just wanted to let you know that we were talking.
We basically had the same reaction. We were just like, okay.
So this was December, right? Or January that
It was January.
October, you and Emily had a conversation. We found this out later about how would you feel. This is before Holy Spirit ever brought the two of us together.
Oh, yeah.
That was Emily having that, asking you about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy to me. He's in the details.
She had the conversation where she just asked me how I feel about it, and I was like, dude, I hope he does find somebody, because I know that this would in your 40s you lose somebody, you lose your wife, and then like I hope he brings somebody, because you never know like how much longer, and if you're here just by yourself the rest of your days. So
well,
whenever I saw the picture, I was like, oh, cool. And then that was literally my reaction. I noticed it, and I was like, wait a minute. Oh, okay, cool.
I remember
and then went
I was
on about my day.
So nervous to meet you. Like Emily was easy, and that was just because we're girls, and it's easy.
Well,
do you want to go get your nails done?
You got to see her on the phone through.
I did.
us.
It was a totally different way to meet her than you.
But him, you couldn't do that.
Oh
so
gosh,
like, and then it's like
I
coming
remember
in
for the longest
time,
I was like, should I get David Jr.'s phone number and text him? I was like, I don't want to like step on it. I was like treading so lightly. And your sister, I don't remember who was the first one to say it to me. One of you said to me, and then both of you separately had said to me, he's just waiting to welcome you. Like you're just waiting to welcome me. He's just waiting to meet you. And I was like, oh my gosh. But that's the Lord working out of me that I'm finally safe to be Amy.
That's just how I've always been.
Well, you're quieter than Emily.
I don't talk a whole lot, but I'm a very good listener. I just listen to people.
And your dad's a mix of you and Emily. I mean, he can listen and talk well, but I don't know that you said you always talked. It's
no,
God
very
doing...
much like him. Just kind of keep to yourself, and then you listen, but then talk if you need to.
Well, I love that when the two of you talk, it's very meaningful. I mean, I can have a lot of words to say some little bit.
My problem is I have a little bit of my mom in me too. So I don't talk a whole lot, but sometimes I say stuff.
Stick
and
your
then
foot in your mouth. Well, you're like, oops, I should have said that.
I'm not being mean with it. It's just I say stuff in kind of a blunt way.
Yeah.
So I've gotten a couple people a little mad at me. And I'm like, I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry. Like, it's just how I talk. I didn't mean it. Sorry. But
yeah, because I remember calling because you had gone back.
Okay,
after
so
the funeral.
You're
so
back.
I remember calling the base, and it took me like a lot of like extensions and phone numbers to get to the chapel. Because I was worried about you. I was like, he needs somebody to talk to. There's nobody there.
Hold, please. How long were you here when you came home for Mama's funeral?
You're here for a week? 2 weeks?
2 weeks?
2
wow.
weeks.
Okay. So how long after the funeral were you here? A week?
I got here and the funeral was like 2 days later.
Okay. So you had a good week and a half here.
I went back and I'm telling you, it was like, okay, nothing really happened. Like I went back and it was like, all right, she's gone. It's not like oh man, this sucks. Like I don't know how I'm gonna go back to work. Like it was all right, she's gone. I need to move on. I need to
process it.
I can't. I went back and then it was like I think I called you this next day because I was still off. So the next day I was just kind of hanging out, and I was like, I'm living the rest of my life like what every decision I made she'd be proud of. Because that's how she would want me to live my life. She would not want me to just shut down. It's not. Yeah, it's not how she was.
And more importantly, if you're aligned with God and you're making choices, letting Jesus be your Savior and your Lord, Mama she'd be proud of you anyways.
Yeah, like
you can't make anyone prouder than God, so Mama would be super proud.
It was one of those things where it was almost like a little too easy, right? Like it was almost like a little too easy for me to just like, all right, she's gone. What's next?
Yeah.
It's not like a hold on to it kind of thing.
That probably helped you not coming in and seeing her in the hospital, having to work through all that full week like Emily did.
I think being by myself kind of was the part that helped the most, because it wasn't having to constantly go do stuff and go up to the hospital all the time and go see her. It was, I'm sitting here at work by myself doing like fixing this plane or whatever and just in my own thoughts,
but then processing.
But I just got to process it. I just got to sit there and just be like, all right, she's probably not, if she doesn't make it, what's next? So it wasn't by the time I got to the funeral, it was just like, all right, cool.
What were your conversations with God like at this time?
Question.
It wasn't really like conversations, honestly. It was more so just, I'm just sitting here. I'm just sitting here and listening. It's not really a conversation. I wasn't really asking questions. I wasn't really, hey, I praying to heal her. I was just kind of like, whatever happens, I know you're gonna make good of it. So what's the future? What's gonna come out of this? What do I need to be? I'm just gonna keep doing my thing, and I'm just gonna listen.
Yeah.
And then I think that really helped. Because it's because I think people get stuck too much when hey, what do I do? Hey, just asking, just constantly asking. Whenever it's like, sometimes you just need to stop and just listen.
It's that acceptance of whatever your plan is, God, I'm surrendered to you and I'm gonna let you have your way.
Yeah, there's no sense in worrying about it because it's already put in motion.
Yeah.
So I might as well just look for what his plan is and look for his hand.
Yeah.
And then just let it happen. That's a
good point.
Don't stop walking over your own feet kind of thing. Like, stop worrying too much about making sure you get it done, because whenever you worry too much about it, then you're not doing it. You're too worried about it. You need to stop, like, get out of your own head and then just let it flow. Just let it happen.
That's the acceptance part. That's what going through the grief share with Emily, that's where you have to get to. You can't really heal until you get to that point. You have to get to accepting, okay, if she is gone, what?
Yeah.
That's until you ask that question, you can't really heal, because you're still stuck in, why is she not here? Why you gotta take her when she was whatever age,
It's more so not I didn't look at it as oh man, we could have had in there 40 years with her. It's what did the 40 years of her life look like? Right? She had a awesome 40 years. The amount of people that she mentored, that she reached out to, that just the amount of people, if you knew, like, every single, there's so many. And I'm like, it's just her time. It's like, this was her time. She did everything you wanted her to do.
We've had conversations about that
It's
was
incredible.
the role she was to play for that time period in not only your life and Emily's life and Dad's life, but all those girls that she influenced. I mean, I am blessed to be a part of their lives now as well.
That's why.
And Cole. I mean, like, even thinking like Cole and
all
Ethan
my friends.
and all your friends, that I've met. It's like, I get to see that she really did impact them, and she cared very deeply for all of them as well.
Yeah, it's like I chose to look at the good that came out of her life rather than what she missed. Right? Like, I don't think she missed anything. I think she
was here for her time.
She nailed it on the head. She got everything.
Yeah, that
you possibly could have wanted.
Yeah, well, I think it's more for the people that are still living. Like, now she's not physically here, and I think that's what Emily had to deal with the most, was just her physical presence not here.
Yeah.
Well, when you are that, like you said, the huge difference is you had already established yourself in Tucson under your first place to be for the airport.
I was messaging her twice a week, maybe talking to her.
And
it wasn't a.
Emily was every day, several times a day.
Talking to her. She was just with
her
to
all reiterate that, so you don't sound to people where you don't sound insensitive. It was just, you have to not detach, but you kind of distance a little bit,
It's natural. You're
Well, I am
15 and a
natural
half
'cause you're
hours
flying.
away.
16 hours away.
'Cause you're
16 hours
flying.
Yeah.
Look at Ohio. I mean, I still talk to my family in Ohio. I talk to my sister almost every day via text or audio clips or FaceTime, but sometimes we go a day without it.
Yeah, it's just.
But it's still, we're actually closer now than we've ever been.
I was just saying, when you were in Ohio,
Ever
you
been.
got to see her like you saw her once
Right.
a week or
But
something.
that, I mean, every dynamic is going to be different. But there is a separation now where I don't get to see them, but every 3 months or so.
And then with you not coming in, I think Emily had to walk through that whole week to prepare herself. She had to see what was coming. If she did not see what was coming, she would have been like,
God knew. He was in the details. I mean, for both of you, for all of us, for every single one of us.
Been a mess.
I mean, my mom went suddenly. It was a complete what happened to my mom? She collapsed at work, and by the time I got to the hospital, they had said she'd already had too much blood in her brain, but they were keeping her alive by life support and trying to figure out if there was anything salvageable, and there wasn't. So it was sudden. That morning, I talked to my mom, and she had won the pick 3 in the lottery in Ohio. It was like $380 something dollars. She had taken the patch off, the nicotine patch. She had quit smoking for a week. I was working at the radio station at the time, and I got a phone call from my aunt that said, your mom collapsed at work today. The last time I talked to her was 11 o'clock that day. She told me all this good news, and she said, the last words out of my mother's mouth were, I love you, little one. And the last words out of my mouth were, I love you, mama. No idea that was going to be. And I don't know that either one is good. My sister had to be in the ambulance ride from the nursing home to the hospital. I can't even imagine the trauma that she sees in her brain sometimes.
It's just I don't see her. Like, I didn't really, I saw her once whenever we came back. Whenever I went up through to between tech school. Other than that, it's like I had already had like a whole year.
Next phase of life. Yeah, for sure.
Like, I still text her and I still talk to her on the phone, but like,
well, plus
it wasn't like I'm living in the same house with her anymore, like seeing her every day.
Exactly.
You didn't really have the dynamic. You weren't.
It's a mother-daughter. Go get your nails done together. I mean, it's a different dynamic.
Together, so it was, I wouldn't say easier for you, but for Emily, it took longer.
Yeah,
because that was her more for her to
work.
Friend.
It was more for her to work through.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting thing about grief is that person plays a different role in each person. Your mother plays a role in my life. You know what I mean? And I never knew her while she was living, but I know her spirit.
Yeah.
And I've worshiped with her spirit. And, you know, so I look at that and I'm like, whoa, look what God has done. You know, you take that and go, okay, you probably never saw yourself in Tucson, Arizona. I never saw myself in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
No, I didn't think I was ever going to leave Oklahoma.
Right. Your dad never saw himself remarried. I never, after my 3rd divorce, I'm like, I'm definitely not getting married again. And then here we are. And you intimately know parts of my story that I'm not ready to speak about, but I've gained 2 children. I have 2 bonus children. I mean, that's the redemption in my story. And redemption is you have a bonus mom who's I'm going to love you. I'm going to love you whether I know how to or not. I'm going to just let the Holy Spirit lead and do my best. Sometimes I feel like, oh gosh, am I too much? I'm not sure, because I'm the get in your face, but yet I think your mama kind of was too, maybe. But I just, I never want to I don't ever want to overstep a boundary. And you know that we've had conversations about that, and I'm always going to be here for you.
She wasn't a super bubbly, but she was.
She was definitely not a bubbly person.
She would still tell you
what needed to be said.
Yeah, but then it goes back to the tact of which she said it was like.
She does have a reputation of being a little bulldozer.
She loved people very deeply, but she was very blunt and to the point with how she said things. So it would always come off wrong.
A little bitey. Okay.
Yeah, not so good.
All right. She still loved fiercely. That's what matters.
I mean, the girls all respected her.
Oh, God.
Either that or they were scared of her.
Well, Taz getting married this weekend, she's sad. You know, she's experiencing some grief because Susie's not going to be there. Susie was a big part of her life.
Yeah.
A lot of people's lives, and so this is, it's for me to be able to talk to her and hear those things. It's like, wow, she really did have a lasting impact on a lot of people.
Yeah.
As did my mom. They just love hard and they love deep. And my mama was a little opposite. She would let herself get all run over. She'd get run over by people. Your mama would not let that happen.
No, it was definitely not. Yeah.
Not by certain people.
That's for sure.
Not by certain people.
Yeah. what do you see in your life right now? Do you see, you'd have no idea where you're going after this. So that's tough because I mean, as I was thinking this over, I'm like, how it would be hard to find a church and get excited about that church, knowing maybe you're going to be leaving in a year and a half. I mean, I would see that. But what are your thoughts? Do you want to try there, or how are you feeling about your relationship with God being in a totally different position without having Solace Church or community?
A community, yeah.
I think it's been more of I've been seeing myself more in a just kind of be with him kind of a phase. Like don't really try to, because after I don't want to. It's hard to say because like Solace, I loved Solace, but like there was some stuff that just happened that I was like, it kind of
burnt you a little bit.
Just a little bit.
It's real, and we need to talk.
Kind of a transition where I'm more focusing on the me and him right now. Like let's see what this is.
Yeah.
What's happening right now.
I would say, yeah.
I'm sure within like either soon or when I get to my next base, I'll find you'll show me somewhere.
Well, I was in that period after my third divorce. There could be nothing else in my life. I tried for here and there for a little bit, like to let distractions in, but there was a point where I was face down going, there's nothing else but you. God, there's nothing else but you. So my sister, I remember November before your dad and I were connected by the Holy Spirit. And 1 month after you and Emily were talking about if someone was brought into his life, I'm face down going, God, I don't know what you want. I've been divorced now for a little while. I do not want anyone in my life. I don't see it happening. Whatever you want from me. And that's when I heard him audibly say, I'm the only father you've ever needed. That whole process, I'm not sure why I was saying that. It happens once every podcast at least.
You guys were talking about being by yourself and then a community and church.
Thank you. And that was a time where I was going to church, and I was going out for coffee with like some of the women. Thank God for them in Wadsworth, Ohio. There were gals that were taking me out to lunch. I didn't really know them that well. I was going to church by myself. In fact, I was in my third marriage, and a few months into that third marriage, he stepped away from going to church, coming to Bible study. I mean, he got baptized there. We got married there. And then all of a sudden I was being told I was in a cult. And I'm like, wait, you were coming with me. Yeah. So are you an ex-cult member? I mean, what is going on here? So like things got real weird for me. And I was like, I was being told like, I'm a fuddy-duddy. I don't even want to, like, all my Wednesdays and my Saturdays and Sundays are now consumed by church. When can we ever do stuff? And I'm like, really felt like I stepped into a twilight zone. So I was going to church, but I'm not sure I felt much. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was kind of like numb, like what is happening in my life right now? So I think that's the period I was entering. And then that's when he was like, just me, Amy, just me after that divorce. And I literally went home, and even at my birthday, my sister was like, can we take you out for dinner? And I was like, I just want to be with him and I want to be at home. And I knew it sounded weird to her, but I was like, I love you and I thank you, but he's calling me just to be at home. It was cold in Ohio. I had the sliding glass door open, and that's when that happened. So I can relate to that. And I think that there are seasons where we have to do that. I think you did it.
Well, Jesus did it when he was preaching. He would leave and go away and go in the mountains and pray himself. So
yeah, I mean, it's not like I don't have a church community per se. I'm not going to a church, but I do. There's still some guys that I talk to.
Yeah.
That like I'm not going to church or doing any kind of Bible studies or anything with them, but I still talk to them. I still talk to them. Like I still have guys.
Well, you had some recently check on you, didn't you? Like they had your back recently.
Yeah.
You were kind of going through a dip.
Yeah.
A low spot, and you had some pals show up for you.
Yeah. So like I don't know. I don't know where I see myself in the next year and a half. Maybe after that we'll see. But for right now, I've just kind of been just seeing where he wants, like just what do you want? Like what is happening? I'm still in that process, I think, from after mom passing, where I'm just, what's the future? What do you want from me? What are you gonna do with me?
Yeah.
What's
the next step for me?
So, well, it's much like the youth pastor was always telling you guys. I remember him saying it often, was like, when you guys leave here, when you graduate high school and you leave this church, you go off to college, wherever you go, or do life wherever, this won't be your church home anymore.
No.
You guys,
Yeah, especially
your-
military, man. That's so hard.
right now, it's your
So
parents'
different.
faith, because not saying they're making you go, but you're getting up and you're going out of respect, or, it's just what we do. But when you leave here, it's on you. It's your faith with God. And where is that going to go for you? You
Mhm.
have to get plugged into a church. You have to seek that kind of stuff out.
Yeah.
It's not, no one's going to do it for you, is basically what he kept telling him. It's your faith.
Yeah.
It's going to grow however you want it to grow.
Mhm.
So it's not like you're the one that strayed. You're still with him. You're just you're kind of over here walking with him by
Yeah.
yourself for right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let him minister
It's
and
just
talk to you and
that's
figure it
kind of
out.
where I see myself right now, and then we're just kind of taking it a day at a time, see what
Mhm.
happens.
I just come at it from
Yeah.
the dad perspective, and that
Yeah.
also seeing the value of being
Mhm.
around others that
Yeah.
lift you up. I mean, you went through that
Well,
men's Bible study with me.
and the experience you talked about being with the 56ers and doing the service. I mean, there is a sense of purpose to all of that is
It is. Well, when you're
unmatched.
when you're in low spots, you have people that
Walking
will
alongside you.
walk alongside
Legit.
you. You doing all
Real
right,
life.
man? Checking
Flesh.
on you,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So, but that's something you have to seek out. You have to seek
Mhm.
that out. You have to want to do it. And it is kind of weird, you being in Tucson and not having a church home. And it's like, that's daunting for a young
Yeah.
24-year-old to walk into a church and
Well,
like,
for
hey guys,
sure.
what's going
Yeah,
on?
for
And having to
sure.
figure that out coming from the church, because Saul's was a good church. I mean, we were
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but to step back in that
Yeah.
with people you don't know.
Okay. Are you ready?
But he will lead you to the right place.
Well, I think you already shared a pivotal moment in your life where you clearly saw God's hand at work.
I think that's the question you asked him, and you said, "Oh, I got
You
a
got a
couple.
few,
I got
so-
a few of
Yeah,
those."
I've got a couple
All right,
things.
let's go.
So what were the two? Because you said
Well,
that I probably knew
it's
one.
probably more than that, but I mean the biggest one is the first mission trip.
In
Because
Mexico. Yeah.
it was all cool and all, but like all this is cool, like it's great and all, but like you really don't see the impact, like you don't, you know what I mean? Like there's not like you don't really see like firsthand what's really happening.
Hmm.
Not really. So whenever we went down there for the first time, we built that house for that family. Like, just seeing the smile and the
Hmm.
well, and even that one of the days we went to the what they called the dump, which was an area that's even worse than where these people were at.
It was actual
where
trash
there's
dump.
literally just a trash dump.
People
and
are
then
going through the trash.
They would go down into the riverbank right next to it, and that's where they were setting up houses.
Oh,
They're
gosh.
making
Wow.
little
Yeah.
cardboard houses and all that. But there's
Man.
right smack dab in the middle of it, there's a church.
Wow.
And all these people are like some of the happiest people I've ever met.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Hungry
it's like,
for the Lord.
it's not it's one of those things where you leave here where everybody really puts into perspective, right? It's like this country, even our poorest people are like
Better off than that.
some of these people, and yet these people are like some of the happiest people you ever meet.
That's what Tammy and Clay said.
We talk about that often. This is all just distractions, man. This is the enemy up here working.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got to have the big fast house and the fancy cars.
Keep us go in debt to drive an awesome car.
We had conversation because we got to walk around we walked around the dump and just talked to people, handed out food to people.
People were down there actually getting stuff, like looking through the trash.
But like, there's some people that had families and stuff in there, and we just talked. We got to talk to them because some of them spoke English and stuff. Coolest people you'll ever meet. They're super nice.
Wow.
Super happy, thankful for everything that they do have, little that they have.
Feed people, when they have stuff, share stuff. It's Jesus.
It's crazy. That's one of them, but the other one was definitely.
I remember you mentioning that when you were talking about it.
The other one was the day I got baptized. It's that moment was surreal. I don't know if you've seen the video. It's just.
I've seen it, but I couldn't hear much. I saw you.
It was crazy because it was a week, probably a couple days before we thought about it. We're like, just asked Pastor Chuck, like, "Hey, would you be willing to baptize me and Mom up at the lake? Because we go up to the lake every week, every year, probably about a week. Yeah, maybe a couple. It just depends. So we go up to go up to the lake, and we're just up there. So we're like, can we do it on the lake? Would you be okay with that? He was like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
45 minutes away.
Yeah, drove
Which-
45
which
minutes up
lake?
here.
Well,
Zero
you
thought
chucking
behind it. We're just like,
cigarettes?
yeah, let's do it. That sounds awesome.
Good
So
eggs, man.
he comes up, and the day that we chose to do it, like we're looking through the days to make sure it wasn't going to be cloudy or stormy or whatever. It was
Yeah.
cloudy and stormy, but we
Yeah.
get down to the beach, and it's a real rocky lake. So we're kind of waddling out, trying not to hurt our feet
Yeah.
and
Or
trip
Break
on the
an
rocks
ankle,
and
get
stuff.
something caught.
Yeah.
But we get out there to about waist height, and then
Mhm.
right as he goes to dunk me, lightning right
There's
behind
lightning.
me,
What?
right behind me on the
There
other side
was
of
a
the lake.
I
storm.
don't remember seeing that.
There was a storm
Yeah,
coming
right
in.
as I went under the water.
Yeah, there was a storm coming in.
I came up from it, and everybody was like, "Whoa, what was
Yeah.
that?"
It wasn't just that you got baptized. There was lightning.
I was, but you go back and watch the video, and it's like
Mhm.
you can clearly see the moment that the lightning hit, and it's just
We have to find this
this
video.
is everything has
It's
changed.
on Facebook.
Uh-huh.
Like there's boom, new life,
Hmm.
right? So it's
Mm.
just
And then he comes out, and then it was stormy.
Yeah, we gotta find this.
It's on. It's
'Cause
on
Chuck's
Facebook.
like-
It's
I know we
crazy.
watched it. It's been a
It's
minute.
And
crazy.
Chuck was kind of worried. He's like, "We probably better get this thing going because this
Yeah.
storm is coming this
Yeah.
way." I was like, "We don't want to get struck
He's
by
seen a lot of
lightning."
things, but he's not trying to see a baptism by lightning.
No.
It's supposed to be baptism by holy water.
It'd be
It was a
holy
surreal
fire
moment.
up here.
Wow. All right. What does it look like to live out your faith in today's culture without compromise? Now that
This
one's going to
is
be
This one's gonna be a good one for you.
this is going to be a
Especially.
good one, but I think like your age, so you're 24, and I think that people especially your age need to hear
Well, 24 and in the military, which
24
is not
in the military.
Well,
Without
let you explain it.
compromise.
That's not conducive to.
I don't. I take it more as a. In my life right now, I'm not actively. I wouldn't say I'm actively pushing, saying, you know what I mean, like actively just talking about it all the time. But
Yeah.
like I live my life in such a way
Mhm.
that people have noticed.
Mhm.
At least some people have noticed enough that they bring it up.
Yeah.
And then once they bring it up, that's when I'll give, my opinions. I'll talk about what I believe,
Yeah.
what I know, blah, 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 blah. So it's not
proselytizing, however you say that.
I try
word.
not to be the guy that's, that guy, right? That guy
Mhm.
at work that
Well,
all day, every day, because people aren't going to want to talk to you.
Well,
They're
you're
not
in the
gonna like you.
military.
Well, you can. I mean, they don't have any issues with it as long as you're not being,
Weird.
yeah, as long as you're not being crazy with it. But it's not that I'm worried about that. I don't want people to think of me as that guy. I want them to look at me and see him, right?
Mm.
Because whenever they see him, then they're going to want to talk to me about
Yeah.
it, right? Because then they're going to be like, "What's
Yeah.
something's
Different.
different, right? Something's
Well, it's the
off."
blood of the lamb and the
Yeah.
word of our testimony, and our testimony can get jacked up. Well,
Mhm.
will get jacked up depending on how we're living.
Mm.
So I try
If I'm living in a way
yeah.
contrary to his word, it jacks up my testimony. And you do live according to a way that I think you would say, my goodness, I know your heart
Mhm.
is a lot like your
Well,
father's.
you're living how he's got you right now.
Mm.
I mean, everyone can always be better. You'd always.
Yeah.
Well, we're all sinners saved by grace, but
always-
you're not out like doing dumb stuff. You're not. You're
No.
24. Your life is
yeah.
is coming together, and you live for him. You care for him. Right now, you're a little more solitary. I believe it's preparation.
I'm also the issue is my personality also is kind of playing a part in it, right? Because I'm not outgoing. I don't like talking. I'm not really a big talker, right? So I try to just show it in my actions because it's easier for me, right?
Yeah.
It's easier for me for somebody to work with me or see me all the time, right? And then just notice that there's something
Different.
different, right?
Mhm.
He's not doing the same things everybody else does. Why is he not do this? Why is he whatever?
Why aren't a bunch of F-bombs coming out of his mouth, right?
Well, I mean, I struggle with that. Just because, like my friends and
well,
the people I work
you're
with.
good around us, thank you.
But
Yeah.
that's something I struggle with. That's my thing. But I try to live my life to the extent that people aren't gonna think of me as that guy at work, right? Because I don't want to be that guy
Yeah.
where everybody's like, he talks about it all the time. He's crazy. I don't want to talk to him. I want to be that guy that everybody can depend on,
Mhm.
so that they're like, why is he, what's going on here? And then they might start asking questions, because if they start asking questions, that's when I'm willing to try to offer some stuff. Right? Don't want to go too far, because I don't want to be, in this day and age, it's real hard to just, you say the name of Jesus and people are just gonna oh, whatever, and then just
you
shut
best
down.
look for a stone, it's coming.
Yeah, they're just gonna shut down. It's
Put
not
you in a box already.
Yeah, it's not they're not gonna hate you for it. There's a lot of people that won't hate you for it, but it's all right, we know where he sits, so I don't want to, I'm just not gonna bring it up anymore, kind of thing, right? So I want to be that guy that's, why is he so different? And then maybe they'll bring it up, and then maybe I can kind of slowly start talking about it that way. That doesn't, like, how do I put it? Like, shut them off, right? They don't put up the walls. You don't want to
burn a bridge or close a door.
Yeah, they don't want to. I don't want them to close the door to it. I want them to be open to talking to me about it, right? So,
well, there's times I've talked to people about it, and the Holy Spirit has literally shown me, you just open your mouth too much. You know, you can say too much sometimes, and I'm very guilty
right
of it.
Time. Yeah.
Yep.
I found too early. That's how I found a couple of the guys at work that are in kind of the same boat as me. So I'm like, all right, cool. I talked to you guys about it, about this kind of stuff, and I've even brought up to one of them to, like, watch this podcast and stuff.
Nice.
It's like,
it's
just stuff that I don't want to be. I feel like in this day and age, being that guy that talks about it too much can actually be a hindrance. You know what I mean? That's just how I see it.
Well, and you're a different age bracket than we are.
Yeah.
You know, I think the Bible's real clear that we need to be bold for him. But if we pray for that boldness, he will give it to us in the right context, for the right area, for the right person. What it looks like for me will not look the same for you, but he will use each of us where we're at, especially if we're asking him.
It also gives you discernment, because Jesus didn't just preach at people; he listened to them.
And he lived it. I mean, he let people watch how he lived.
I think that's kind of also something I have learned, is that I feel like that's more my role to play, is not to be the guy that goes out and talks about it all the time. Maybe I just need to be that guy, right? You know, that
more humble,
that guy at work that everybody likes to talk to, and everybody likes him, and maybe that'll get some people to open up to me, kind of thing.
Well, that's how I feel about like your dad or Chuck Burton or Pastor Scott, Pastor Rob. I feel like I don't ever feel like, gosh, again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like it's everyday living. It's what I see is what I get. And it's, if I need them, they are, I mean, when your dad was in the hospital with that blockage, Pastor Scott and Pastor Rob were up there praying. And it just all made sense to me, that because it's genuine. So I think it comes down to just be genuinely who you are and who God created you to be. And he'll give you those moments where you do find your people, and then he also will lead people to you, that he'll open the door for you to talk to them.
I think that's one thing he's done, is he's I don't have like that evangelist heart. I don't have that, I want to go out and just talk about it 24/7 kind of heart. I have that. I want to just be here for people. Like, I think that's something I'm noticing, is that his whole, I want you to help people, like, I want to help people kind of thing. I'm noticing that's more of a, not really like a passive thing, but it's I want to be there for people so that they know that I'm here for them. I'm here. If you need me,
he's going to put those people,
and then he'll bring bring those people to me.
Yeah. Well, I've obviously just started to get to know you personally, and then been able to go into your space. I was honored to be a part of helping you find your car that you just got. I mean, I was the dorky bonus mom taking all the pictures. But and to watch you two together, might get a little cry on this one, to go and be on your base and all that. I feel like, I mean, you're 24, like, let's be real about that. That's you're younger, but the military is definitely expediting the process of you growing up. But you've also made decisions I've witnessed since I've known you and been able to talk to you more. You've been making decisions and being more aware of your decisions and how they impact your life and your future. Even down to how much you're going to pay on the car and what you're going to do with the money that you get, the extra money from deployment, blah, blah, blah. It's really neat for me to stand back and watch that. Cause at 24, I was, I don't know, I think on DUI number 2, maybe 3.
That's something that, as you definitely came in later, you haven't really noticed, but I've always noticed that, it's not even like don't take this the wrong way, but I've always been more of a mature, you can ask them, I've always been kind of a more mature, laid back, like,
Well, your heart is more like his. I noticed
Yeah.
when you came and spoke to the classroom last year, the 5th graders last year. I'm going to ask him. I was like, you two have the same heart. Didn't I come home and say that?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my gosh. I could see that. And I could see how you're much more in the background, humble servant for the
Yeah,
Lord
yeah.
versus I am called more to evangelize. That's he's
Yeah.
given me this big mouth for a reason. And your dad is definitely more behind the scenes.
Mhm.
Not anymore,
Well, that's
but
I'm still
that's the
behind
way
scenes.
I just enjoy living my life to the point where I want to help people, but I don't feel like that person
Come on,
that
baby.
wants to be just 24/7 Jesus this, Jesus that, Jesus is great. And it's like he's great. I love him, but I want people to find out about that through a wholesome way where they get to know me first and then they see him through me.
Mhm. Well, what happened 2,000 years ago?
Yeah,
That exact thing.
exactly.
Mm.
So
Come on, sissy. Hey, guys, everyone meet Callie.
Callie came up. Okay.
So Callie's been in your life the whole time.
Yeah.
17, 18.
not the whole time, but yeah,
17.
we got her when
18.
I was real young.
Okay, last question. You ready? What advice would you give to someone struggling to hear God's voice or to feel his presence?
I mean, I've kind of already said it.
Mm.
Get out of your own head.
Mm.
Sometimes you need to just stop doing and then just sit back and listen. See what's going on, right?
Mhm.
Because sometimes we get so focused on doing that we don't ever just take the step back to take a look at our surroundings and see what's happening.
Mhm. To process.
Because that's something I've definitely noticed too. Whenever I go on all my deployments and everything, it's so much. You just take that, just slow down, just a tiny bit, and you'll notice him. He's in everything. You
Yeah.
notice. You just
Yeah, you get to
just
see
look
that in
around
lots of
and you just
places.
see it everywhere.
Mhm.
My advice would just be, maybe it's not for everybody, but just slow down.
Oh, that
We're not in a
is.
race.
That very much
It's a
is.
marathon.
You just need to
So if you're
take a step back and just
So
see what's happening.
to add to that, if you're slowing down, is there a way you do put yourself into a better position to hear from him? Do you like sit in a quiet room? Are you listening to
Well,
worship music? Or are you?
Oh, yeah.
For
Good
You know what
me, for me, it's always been, well, I'm an introvert, so it's always been just get by myself, listen to music. Maybe when I'm just driving to work,
Mhm.
just put on some music. It doesn't even have to be worship music.
Mhm.
Just put on some music and just let it fade into the background,
Mhm.
and just listen. When I say slow down, I don't mean like just like full stop. Just don't stop worrying about it too much about the future and think about the present. Just look
Mhm.
at what's going on.
right now. Be present
Don't
in the moment.
don't worry about the future so much as you just look at just take a step back and just see what's going on around you in the present. Be present.
Yeah.
Where he's at, what he's telling
What
you
he's
to do,
doing,
who he's.
what he's doing right now. Don't worry too much about what he's going to do in the future.
Mm.
See what he's doing in the moment.
Well, that's the thing, because we don't know what he's going to do in the future.
We don't,
No,
yeah,
and we're
which
not
is why
guaranteed.
which is why
No.
don't worry about it. Take that step back and
Well,
just
that's scriptural, but
just see what he's doing.
That's a hard human thing to do.
That's
to not worry.
luckily that's an easy thing for me because that's just kind of how I live my life.
Mm.
I'm very introverted. I like to be by myself. Like I like to take things slow,
Mm-hmm.
so it's easier for me to kind of slow down and just look,
Mhm.
listen.
Mm-hmm.
But
Nice.
that's me. That's how I've always been. I mean, you can throughout all my years of relationship with him, I've always just kind of taken it slow.
Mm-hmm. The older I get and the more I look back on all of the choices I made without Jesus, even some of the ones I made with him, and not really, maybe making him the Lord of my life yet. I look back and there's a lot of things that I'm not sure I would change because I wouldn't be who I am today. But there are some things that I'm like, oh wow, those were some pretty crappy choices outside of him. And you've had him in your life most of your life.
I think
I'm so thankful for that for you guys.
I think that's another thing that can get people too. It got me a lot. Is just the worrying about the future, but then regretting the past. The past is the past. You know what happened? You made a mistake. It happens. Like if you dwell on that, then you're ruining what he's doing now.
And that's a good one.
And I've
can't change
noticed
it.
that I've fallen into that a lot. I catch
Mhm.
that's my issue. It's a lot
That's
easier
a
for me to not worry about the future, but it's a lot harder for me to not regret the past.
Mm.
That's a human condition there.
Yeah.
Everyone worried. I mean, not everybody, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
majority of people worry or
Mhm.
perseverate on.
So you're more
coulda,
the
shoulda,
future,
woulda.
like thinking about the future.
It's easier for me to not worry about the future. It's a lot harder for me to not regret actions that I took in the past.
Are you willing to talk about some of those?
I mean, most of them are just normal guy things that you get trapped with that thankfully I've gotten past for the most part.
Mhm.
Mm.
Still struggle with stuff like
Mhm.
everybody else, but
Mhm.
for the most part I've gotten past it, but it doesn't make me regret any of the stuff I did.
Mhm.
But I think take it day by day, try to regret it less, not
Mhm.
worry about it so much. Let it just what happened.
Well, what
Worry
did
more about what
you
he's doing now.
right and he's forgiven you, and what did you glean from it? You know, like how did you become a better version of yourself as the result of it?
Mhm.
How has it grown you into who you are
Yeah, I
today?
just don't worry about it anymore as much anymore. So now I get to like that time that I spent focusing on that, I get to spend listening to him,
Mhm.
see what just to take that time to see what he's doing,
Yeah,
to notice the
what
the
he's doing now.
surroundings. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be clear on your next step. I mean, as I was watching you kind of go through the process of your car, I was like, he's thinking it through.
Mhm.
He's thinking it through. He's sitting with it, and he's thinking about his future. And it was cool to be a part of that.
Mm.
Well, now to restructure everything that you're doing to afford the car, it's like, oh Lord,
Yeah.
you know, your budget and thinking about your budget, but that's adulting.
Well, and you
as
really
you
kind
start
of
adulting.
taking the horns of that and going, all right, I'm going to go do the things that they're suggesting that I do. Not like we're financial experts, we are far from it, but there's some things that we've learned along the way, and you went and implemented them right away, and you got into a car, and you're growing up. Oh, oh. Oh, I love
That's
it.
something that when you have kids, that you'll wind up working through that as well.
Mm.
Because I don't do it daily, but whenever I think about you and Emily, I'm like, you always think about I mean, I was doing it today, like
Yeah.
what you could have done better, or
He
what
thinks
you
Yeah.
he's
should have
failed
done
you
better.
sometimes.
We've
or
had this conversation.
I
over
failed
years
them
a
in
lot.
this area.
He just texted
or
me that the other day. I feel like I failed my kids. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
I mean, every time he brings it up to me, I tell
Well,
him.
tell
I
him.
tell him
Tell him
I tell
again
him
for
every
me.
time he hasn't.
Well, but
No.
that's
You
just
see
a
where
parent
I'm
thing,
at,
because
but
you're always
yeah.
you always
Yeah.
want,
You want the best for your kids. You want
like,
better
man,
than
I
what
should
you
have
had for
done, I
sure.
could have done different here, or I mean, but that's looking
Well, and
back.
y'all don't
You
come with
can't
a
change
handbook,
anything.
you know.
Now I look at it now as an
Yeah.
adult, and what happened is made me who I am today. So I wouldn't change any of it.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Even the darkest parts that I don't like talking about, some of the things I've shared with you and Emily that I have not shared publicly yet, and with your
Mhm.
dad, those have, like, I look at how he's restored those
Mhm.
things in my life. Like, that's, I guess, the thing that I would say to you, to your dad has heard it a gazillion times, Emily's heard it, and everyone,
Mhm.
is he has restored things in my life with this story
Mhm.
that I never thought would be restored,
Mhm.
redeemed, and actually almost it feels like a resurrection. Like,
Mhm.
really, let me share how powerful he is and what he wants to do for each of us. Like, let me share that with you. And that's that part of me that wants to just barf it out
Mhm.
because he wants to do it for each of us.
That's another thing I've kind of pieced together over the years too. Is it's like all the mistakes over the years that I've made. Like, do I really regret the mistakes I made? Like, because without those, am I the person I am today?
Right.
Like, am I gonna have the story I have today? Am
Right.
I gonna be able to
Mm-mm.
talk to people the same way I do nowadays? Well, I have this
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
it's something that I work on daily to try to think about more, because it's, yeah, you made the mistake, but at the same time, maybe he let it happen so that
How did it forge
now
you?
somebody that did the same thing might be able to talk to you, and then you'd be like, hey, check, like, I went through the same thing. I
Yeah.
struggled with the same thing,
Yep.
right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not something he does to you. It's something he lets happen so that you have that story,
Mhm.
right?
Everyone struggles with something.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
we're all struggling.
Well,
to find a
forging
heaven
in
or
the
something.
fire. It's
Yeah.
Romans. It's my
Mhm.
it's my struggles bring my perseverance. My perseverance brings my character, you know, and my faith carries me
Mhm.
through all of that. And anything we go through is to help another Christian walk through, another human being walk through it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And thank God. And being a part of this family that is now my family has strengthened my faith and increased it in ways. I mean, I'm a baby Christian still, but I feel like he has shown me so much, and he has shown me and convicted me and confirmed me in so many ways.
I keep telling you, the years don't matter. The Holy Spirit gets a hold of you. You're
Oh, your
the
dad
Holy
said, put your
Spirit's
seatbelt on. He's just got started. I'm like, honey, it's a race harness. It is not
Mhm.
just a seatbelt. Like, I
Mhm.
feel like he pushed gas down.
Well, I mean, we went through the transition, like going First United. That was us getting started, and then we weren't going to church, and then we went to Solace, and then it went to a whole nother level because then we were serving. We
Yeah,
weren't
for
serving
sure.
at First United.
And we're serving at
I
Foundation
think
at our church.
I think
And
that's
that's a big
kind of
deal.
what's going on in my life right now is that gap.
Mhm.
You left the first church, you had the gap for him to work on you, and then went to your next home. And because of all that work he did on you in the in between,
Mhm.
you were even more productive, right? You got to do
Mm.
even more.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I think that's the period he's got me in right now is
Mhm.
that time of
another gap.
just me and him.
Yeah.
So that for the next church home I go to, I'll just be even that better for them.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Not for me, is
Mhm.
I'm still the same guy. I'm still struggling just like I always am. But it's gonna be better for the people that I get to meet in the future.
It's gonna be good for you though too, because
Well, yeah,
that's
but
community. 'Cause
yeah,
they're gonna lift you just as
but
well as.
what I'm going through now is gonna be good for them
Mhm.
Well,
because
it's always about
now I get
serving.
to
Love
now I get
God,
to
love
take all that
others.
to
I mean, those are that's 2 great commandments, right? Love God first above
Mhm.
everything, and then love your neighbor.
Mm.
So I mean, it really isn't about us, but we do, you know, there is such a beautiful thing that he does when we are serving others and when we are in fellowship with
Mhm.
his people. It's amazing.
Well, that
to
was
me.
important too with us going down to Nightlights Tulsa and serving, going downtown and serving the homeless and all that, and being part of those ministries at church was just to kind of get their eyes looking like, see what you have, but then like, man, these people are living on the street,
Yeah.
and you're able to hand out clothes to them
Yeah.
and stuff. Just give you a different perspective and
Yeah, I've never taken
and to be a servant
what I have
heart.
to.
It's
He's
you-
given he's given me I have a great I have everything I could ever want.
Yeah, you're very minimalist, like your dad.
Oh,
Very
yeah,
much.
very,
Your
yeah.
Well,
sister and I are more
mine
like.
got more once I got cancer, and then with her passing, like, yeah, I'd rather it's okay if this stuff goes away. I'd be okay.
Mhm.
Cabin in the woods, I'm good.
It's becoming more
I'm
like
not
that
at
for
that
me.
point. But
We're planting our garden out. We're starting seeds next month.
I still very much like my electricity. Still
Well,
very
I do
much
too.
like-
Your
Still
father
very
is the
much
extreme.
like my stuff. I see.
You could
it.
have the electricity and stuff, but there's just something about it goes back to what you were saying with slowing down. If you can just sit and stare at a fire and just
Not be distracted.
and not be distracted, just
anything.
it's an easier way to get rid of the distractions because we just
Yeah.
have too many distractions.
It is our culture, our society, specifically the American society, but our world today also is very caught up
Everything
in
world. There's
all kinds of things.
There's people, I mean, even the videos we're watching of overseas in Afghanistan and
Oh my Lord.
everything else, the people are still walking around with cell phones. It's like they're not totally detached from
No.
society. They're
Very
just
few
not
people. I
living.
mean, there are definitely third world countries that are, as we talked about when you're on your missions trip, but I would say there's more not in that position in this world than are, and unfortunately some are. But yeah, just to slow down. I mean, when I got back in the morning, your dad and I will read the YouVersion app, the daily message on the YouVersion app. It's kind of shifted into us sitting together and doing our own personal walk with the verse of the day and writing it out and praying, and then our own devotional. And holy cow, am I hearing from him even more?
I think that's the coolest thing for me is it's been one of the like that step where I'm not really doing anything. I'm just kind of sitting back and listening, right? Like I'm not, but it's just in all my day-to-day life, I'm just seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
Like he's getting the message to me
Yeah.
in his own way. And I
You've
guess,
sent us some stuff on our family thread
I
that
think
I'm
that's
like,
cool because I'm not actively seeking it really. I'm just kind of listening, and it's just there.
Well, the posture of your heart hasn't changed. You still
No,
love Jesus,
I'm
and
just
he's
posturing, yeah.
I'm just in
Yeah.
a state of
more solitary at this time.
of listening for
Listening.
what he's doing rather than in a seeking kind of attitude right now.
I see. That's actually a good way to, because
rather than
Mhm.
seeking,
Makes
I want to sit back and just listen. What's like, listen for what he wants, what he's doing, see what's going, what he's doing.
Well, that's, I think, the coolest thing is when he knows you're ready, you're gonna know it's go time.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because you've been sitting, you've been watching, the posture of your heart isn't different. When he's gonna call you to
That's
whatever
what I was
that
just thinking,
next step is, it's gonna be clear.
it's gonna be all in.
That's how we knew. Like it
Mhm.
was zero doubt, not once, especially with what he's been through and what I've been through. You know, and 2 kids coming on the scene, I'm like, I don't want to jack this up. You know, like I don't need Amy to get in the way on this one. But the Holy Spirit was, because he was in a posture, his heart was in the right posture, so was mine, and just the Holy Spirit was like, yep. And neither one of us doubted it. It was, I've never felt this sure of anything.
I was still in
all of this.
Encouragement for you is I was still going, because I understood that I needed to be around community, but a lot of the times it wasn't. And I remember telling Pastor Rob, when I found a foundation, he took me out to lunch and he's, asking me and everything. I said, look, I'm not going to serve. I'm not in the capacity mentally to serve. I don't want to serve. I was, told him about the church hurt and all that. I said, I'm still healing from that. I said, I just want to find a place I can call home and just sit in the back and just be.
He welcomed that
and not
too.
not called to do anything. Just, hey brother, welcome. He goes, you found the right space, the right place.
Yeah, we're gonna love you right where you're at.
He was just, come be, man, heal, and he'll let you know when you're ready. But I understood the value of, no, you still need to find, because that was important to find a church, because we were 6 months without a church after we all left Solace.
Yeah.
At that point. And I was like, okay, with the two-year gap from First United to Solace, I'm like, okay, the 7-year run we were at Solace, I'm like, that was important. That was, we learned how to serve well and do all that stuff. I'm like, so there's importance in me re-engaging somewhere. I just didn't know where it was at. Tried a couple of churches, and he just led me to Foundation, and they were just good enough to welcome me like they did at Solace.
I love our
come
church.
on in, and just
so important to find the right family. I mean, they're going to be walking alongside you.
That's my encouragement.
And if they're not, you're in the wrong church.
That's always been my encouragement for you and Emily. Is like, you don't have to dive in head deep at any church you go to. Just go and be around other
and see what it feels like.
people,
does it even feel like you want to go back?
And be around other people worshiping.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you don't even feel like you want to go back, either something's up inside of you that you need to explore, or it's not the right place and your spirit felt it. It's one of the two.
Because there is value. I mean, in my eyes, there is value in going and just being.
Well, you're never going to be wrong by going and being. You're right.
No, and other people are there, and you're specifically putting yourself in his presence.
Even if you chose to go back to that church that we all went to that time, which we personally felt was an awesome church, but it's your walk, not ours. Like, even if you went back and you did leave Tucson in a year and a half, if that's what the Lord called you to, there's something there. There's something that possibly your future wife, we don't know, possibly not. But your impact will be whatever it would be if he calls you to go there or anywhere else.
No, I've noticed that too. Is he's kind of made an emphasis to me on the Big C church, because rather than just going to the physical building, right? Because it's like he's brought me people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the way I've been talking about the way I've been living. He's brought me people. There's multiple guys I talk to about this stuff. Right? I don't go to church with them, but I have people, right? So I think that's also been another thing, because I did have a little bit of that church hurt after we left Solace.
Got to be processed. Yeah.
I think he's showing me that emphasis on the Big C church. It doesn't need to be a physical building.
You're the church.
Yeah.
We're church.
You need to just find people.
There was no building. It was people meet where two or more are gathered.
That was what I was going to say. That would be especially with me giving you those old journals that you had when we were doing the men's group, to remind you of the benefit that was where those guys were mentoring and speaking life into you and to each other. There is benefits
Oh my
to
goodness,
that.
man. Life group is
Not
so
just
good.
because the people he may bring into your life outside of his, a building, they may be seeking it, but they may not be feeding you the word. You're feeding them the word, or you're being what what you feel God is calling you to do and speak life into them. But you still need people to speak life into you, to grow you, to come alongside.
Well, that's for sure.
You.
He sent 2 by 2 out, right? He didn't send 1 by 1. It was 2 by 2.
I mean, you go back to Chuck Burton. When I was seeking somebody to talk to, I called him. I was like, you're a pastoral care pastor and you work at a funeral home. When you need to talk to somebody, who do you go see? He goes, my guy is Kent Schote over at Foundation Church. That's who I go see. And I'm like, if you go see him, then I'm going to see him.
That's what I respect about you and you. You guys didn't sit back, and it's grief is so different for everybody. Sometimes I think you feel paralyzed and you have no idea what to do. You know what I mean? Everyone handles it differently. But what I like is that in the end, we all have to come to the same conclusion, which is I have to process this. If not, the toxins of grief are going to stay inside of me. Those emotions, they need to come out eventually somehow, whether it's privately, whether it's with another counselor or whatever it is. But it has to come out some way, somehow.
Well, no, it's something to redefine. As we keep saying church hurt, it's actually just people hurt.
It's people hurt.
Because people are in the church. So you're like, we invested that much time and we in community with the people at the church, and then it's like,
well, I had that kind of hurt with colleagues before, you know, where
it goes away, and it's
you know what I mean?
It's hard to step back into that. So I had that, but I was like, okay, I'm not going to step back into that capacity. Into serving and just getting into the messiness of it, and maybe seeing more of a church, how it works than you wanted to. It's like, I'm just going to go and sit in the back and just worship and align myself, at least, because most people do it once a week,
well, that's what I did too. Yeah.
with worshiping with other people.
Yeah. And just being there, being present in it and letting yourself experience it.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? I mean, I went by myself too.
That's all I was looking for, was just that. It's like, you can
I
sit
just
at
wanted
home.
to be with God. I didn't care where it was. Like, wherever you show up, bro, I need you. I need you everywhere. And that's what I realized. You're the church. We're the church.
The one thing that I've learned is that the small C church, like you're talking about, is just it's filled with people, but it's also a picture of what heaven's going to look like.
Yeah, it's
because
true.
In heaven, we're all worshiping. That's our job, is just to worship. In this side of heaven, that is the best example we have, is when we come together and we're
as a congregation,
and we're worshiping God.
Yep. That's a good point.
But that unfortunately is how it's set up, as once a week we go do that on Sunday.
Well, but that's why I think if you're in the right church, you've got life groups, you have Bible studies, you have all the things that are keeping you truly connected to that fellowship and that community of people who are walking alongside you.
That's my concern for you and Emily, is that you're getting fed as well. And you're intentionally putting yourself in environments where you're getting fed as well.
With him.
And with other
mentored.
People walking alongside you, dudes doing life with you, in the messiness of it.
Yeah. Can you imagine I moved 15 hours away. My whole family is 15 hours away. I knew nobody here. Nobody, not one person.
But he was already setting that up before you moved.
Oh my goodness, so much so.
He was already
setting it up.
He was already replacing and putting people in your life that
big time.
That are more in your life.
Literally. I feel closer to my colleagues here, to people here, in such a short amount of time that it kind of blows my mind. Like, and there have been times where I'm like, is the other shoe gonna drop? No, this is what the Holy Spirit does. He restores, he redeems, he resurrects.
Even outside of that, like a godly relationship, he's doing that for me too. I have a lot of guys that I'm like way closer to than I've ever been with other people since I've joined the military.
And that's that cool brotherhood, that fellowship.
Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Well, and yours is going to be difficult with being an introvert. It's harder to let people in, and then on top of that, if you've been hurt personally and then through church hurt or through people in the church, claiming to be community and then like not really being community. That all compounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my, I guess, encouragement to you guys. Just always just like, even if you're not talking to anybody, at least just if you find a church you can go to and worship and get a good message,
Get fed,
and just
yeah.
keep going and getting fed, man.
Yeah. I think that's, I mean, even me, when I don't really have, I mean, I guess I have a little bit of church hurt. There were some things I do. I have theology hurt. I have like what people tried to tell me versus what I read in black and white in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? And then certain things that were said on the stage at my church that I did get baptized at, that did not coincide with what I read in the Bible. You know, those things kind of confused me, but thank God I always had his word. So when I went in solitude, I was like, wait a minute, this is what it actually says. And if you read it and it's a living word, then it will speak to you. So how can you tell me? Which is why I don't really argue with people about it. I'm like, this is how I think Jesus walked. This based on what I'm reading in his word. This is how I think he walked. I'm going to keep it that simple. Keep it that simple.
I don't think one thing I've always been very appreciative of that you gave me.
What's that?
Is the mindset of double check everything. You never know. Like it comes with everything, but it's just everything. It's like, did they say that? And it's something. It's like, I'm gonna check that for myself.
Check that.
Fact check.
I'm gonna check that for myself and see what really, like, if that's the real information or not.
Say that?
Yeah.
Well, because the church we were at had that leaning. Pastor Matt had that leaning towards apologetics, so it's like, you know, what do you believe?
Question it.
Why do you believe it? Because a lot of people just blindly, yes, I believe.
Or you say you're a Christian, but what does that actually mean to you? Do you have are you Christianish?
Yeah.
Or are you following him?
Well,
like really getting to know him for yourself?
Yeah. Well, to me, it actually helped evangelize if people came up, hey, why do you believe what you believe? Okay, well, here's why.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of get into the muck with them. And, well, he didn't really live. Well, he did live. We can prove that he was actually living on the world. So it's like,
you find the best stuff. Your dad's videos are the best.
But we walked through all that. I mean, we took them to all that.
Yeah.
That stuff too.
You guys read, was it The Prayer Cottage that y'all read in that men's study? That was a book that your dad and I would read together when we were dating from Ohio to Oklahoma. And
you probably don't. I'll have to get you.
Prayer Cottage, I remember that one.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Craziness. But
I've
just
read that a couple times already.
How much you guys and your story has impacted my walk with Christ. And then for me to look at we had a couple on, Luke and Jessica Jecker, and I don't know that I'll ever forget this. I have a debt, I have a duty, and I have an obligation. And that has become very real in my life. And I know it's real in our family, and we're all in our own walk with it because that's what it's designed to be. But I just love that we all love him and we all know he's real and we all are going to heaven because of that. And I just pray that my family who hasn't accepted him yet come to him and are parts of our family.
Not all of them.
I think
not all of your family. Some of your family has.
Some of my family has, but I just mean the rest who have not accepted him.
Yeah, the rest of them. Yeah.
I want us all in heaven together.
Well, I think a cool thing that you kind of just hinted at is the way I've always seen it is his mama's passing kind of gave me a new what's the word I'm looking for? New perspective on his sacrifice for us. Right? Because if the way I think about my mom passing, right? I'm gonna live like she's gonna be proud of me, right? After that happened, I kind of came to the realization that it's like that's exactly how I think of it whenever it comes to Jesus.
Yeah.
Right?
I was just gonna say,
well done, my good and faithful servant.
It's not an obligation to me. It's if he's willing to sacrifice his life for me like that, then I'm going to make him proud.
That's what I was going to.
He's willing to do that for me, and why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not an obligation to me. It's he's willing to do this cool thing for me. I'm going to do the cool thing for him.
More of like an honor.
Yeah.
Like a joyful honor.
It's somebody that I respect was willing to do all that for me. Then I'm going to, because I'm big on respect. I'm huge on respect.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to respect me that much, then I'm going to respect you that much.
Loved you that much. He sent his only son down here. That's the one thing I did have to tell Emily because she kind of got stuck in what would mama say? I can't ask mama the question. I said, well, you're asking the wrong person. If you have those specific questions, mama's not the one to answer it. That's not her job.
Yeah.
You need to be asking that of Jesus, because he's the one that is going to answer you. Mom's busy. She's up there
worshiping in a glorified
she's
body
praising,
all
worshiping.
day.
She's living her best life. Right?
Best life.
I still think when she entered heaven, he just said, well done, come on in. You don't have to worry about anything else down there. I got it. You weren't even in control when you're down there anyway. You just thought you were.
Yeah, we all think we are.
I got it from here.
Yeah.
Here's
Let
your
go.
here's
Let
your new job. Here's what you're supposed to do. I got the rest.
Mm-hmm. So Emily had shared, I'm sure she shared this with you, that when she had gone to the counselor, the counselor that she was seeing.
You're reading my mind, because I was just thinking that.
She had, and this actually kind of, the next time I went to church and worshiped, I was weeping in gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
I had already felt it, but the words weren't put to it. And I guess her counselor has said to her, there's no distance in the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So that when we're worshiping, and that's why that picture of you worshiping
she's right there,
makes me weep.
Me, yeah.
You're worshiping with her.
She's
she's
right there with
singing,
me,
worshiping with me. And wow.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually feel that in my spirit now.
Because if you're doing it at home by yourself, that's great. But there's just something about when you're with other people doing it. It's like we're worshiping God, and then you're with.
Totally agree with you, but I felt it here at home too. I prayed over this house. The song that was on earlier downstairs, like I pray for my family. I pray for you guys. I pray over this house. And when I first moved in here and there were boxes everywhere and he was at work and I'm looking around going, oh my gosh, I'm in Oklahoma.
I'm in a whole house.
It was this. The Holy Spirit said this house is going to be sanctified. This house is going to be used. This house is going to be a huge part of people's salvation and people's just seeing the love and peace and hands and feet of Jesus. And it always has been. It's just a different season for it now. It's pretty cool.
A good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's, to your point, I think there's also something so simple about just being with him. It doesn't matter what instance. It's just there's something so simple about just, I don't know if it's just me, but like I'm real good at zoning out and just kind of fading into the background. So it's real easy for me to just be. So it doesn't matter where I'm at. I could be at work. I could just be sitting there in my chair at work in the office and then just kind of zone out, and it's just me and him. Nothing else around me. You just worship.
Mine's just dad. Mine's just dad concerns. But
it's peaceful. Like you experience it, and that's the thing to note is so like you experience his peace and his love and his tenderness. And a lot of guys have a hard time talking about that tenderness piece because it's not macho enough. And you're in the military, but I think that's what it is. It's when I watch the Chosen series, it's what I feel like his word has always been saying to me is this soft, tender, genuine, comfortable. Like I've never felt more peaceful experience with him.
Well, you know my favorite verse, right?
Tell me again.
John 16:33.
Say it.
The whole, I don't know it word for word, but the whole verse is about peace. And have I told you the story of how that came to be my favorite verse?
If you did, you're going to have to say it again because that's the brain here.
The day when I had been driving, I was 16. I just gotten my driver's license. I'd had it for 2 months maybe, and I got in an accident. Barely, it was a bump. It was a bump. Then it didn't damage either car or whatever. It was long story. Whole lot. It doesn't matter. That side doesn't matter. But it was the afterwards. After that, we went to the football game because it's Friday night. Went back home. We got in the car with them. Went to the football game, and it's just peace. Went through one of the most stressful things I've been in my little 16-year-old brain. But it's just there's nothing. It's just peace. And then I think it was
only he can
on that car ride there. I had just been looking through. I don't even remember what the social media at the time was, but just kind of scrolling social media, and then one of those little, the typical like photo of a sky with the verse on it thing popped up, and it just John 16:33. It's just, I will give you peace.
You knew.
And it's just, okay, yeah. And it's just that's forever. That's been my favorite aspect of God It's just the peace aspect where he's just, you don't have to stress, you don't have to worry. He's got it.
You do have to put yourself in his presence for him to give you the peace.
But he'll give you the peace.
Oh, he will. Ask and you shall receive. It's biblical. And his promises are true. And he wants to continuously give you abundantly more than you can ask, think, or imagine. That's him. That's the God we serve.
That's what he just put in my brain. That's what with emphasizing you and Emily, like linking arms with,
latching on, yoking.
Yeah, well, not yoke with just other people. That it was told. It's scriptural, but I obviously can't pull up the scripture. But it was, if you're not putting on the armor and you're not being around other people to lift you, you're more easily sifted by the enemy. Because if you're by yourself,
chaff of the wheat.
Yeah, but by ourselves, we're weak.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can only go so long on willpower, and then, if you don't have accountability to other people, but when you're with other people, you have that accountability, but they're able to prop you up or lift you up or
for sure.
hold you up when you're struggling and that kind of stuff. I guess that's my dad perspective on you guys doing, is this you're not easily swayed by the enemy because you're doing your own thing, but you have other people that are linking arms with you and doing life. And
well, surely it's important. I think, we're warned in the Bible about trying to do it solo. It's not the enemy can get in way too many ways, but those moments of solitude, I think, are super important.
Well, you have to have those,
but those moments of being connected with like-minded people, people who are chasing after Christ, has changed my life. Really changed my life.
Yeah, because you get around those people, like in life groups, they're like, you doing all right,
right?
You don't look good, man. What's going on? They're able to speak life into you.
Well, then you see that other people are going through stuff. So when you go through something, you're like, okay, I don't feel so alone here because everybody else has been through something. And then, my goodness, the power of prayer and being able to lift your people up in prayer and knowing that how many of our angels are sent just because you said a prayer.
It's not about you. It's about serving other people. You get that value out of serving because that's what he did, is served when he was down here.
Yeah.
He didn't look to be served.
Yeah, you said something last time you were here a year ago or whenever, October. I don't remember what you said. I think it might have been around TikTok or social something, a reel. And you had said that you felt like you were called to help. And I thought you were speaking to a specific group of people, possibly even like your just age group in general. And then tonight I heard you talking about how you just want to be useful to him and help people, but you don't want to be that guy that's always like blah, 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 blah. Just the way you live your life attracts the people to you, and God puts them in that position. So he's a brewing. He's a brewing.
Well, it's kind of, I think that's why I have the personality that I have. Is because I think I've always been destined to be that guy, that just dependable. You can always come to me guy. I'm not going to be the guy that's going to be real out and just about and super loud and obnoxious with it, but you'll know that I'm that guy if you need me.
Well, that's your dad.
Yeah. Well, let me encourage you with
that's
this.
Your father.
You can do it with the people you work with, or a small group, but if you get around, if you're wanting to do that and speak life and have people see you and come and talk to you, what better place to do that than with a captured community of believers every week? So it's not just 5 people. Now you have a whole church that's seeing you, and you're able to speak life into even more people. But that's going to be in his time and putting you where he wants you.
Yeah.
And that's big vision, not just the people he has you with now, but like, man, if he puts you in a whole nother arena with more people again, it's like, how many more people will you reach?
Well, and he's using it. He's using everything that you're going through right now to prepare you for what's next.
I was just about to say, I think that's also something that I've kind of been, that he's letting me go through, because it's because you always know those, like, there's church kids, right?
Yeah.
They grow up in the church, that's all they've ever known, and then they get out and then they just start going crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's all they've ever known. They never got to experience all that other stuff. So it's kind of something I'm real grateful for, the military in specific, because I've gotten to experience a lot of stuff that I never got to as a kid because I just didn't do it.
Yeah. Well,
now
not
I've gotten to
many kids
experience a
travel
lot
the
of
world.
yeah, I've gotten to
Mhm.
experience a lot of that stuff now, and I know
Yeah.
now I have that story, right? That story to talk to people with about.
I would just be in prayer that he puts you in more situations like that.
Now I've
Grow
got
me more.
Yeah, now I get to do all this so that I can, when I finally do find that place that you want me to be at, that I'll have all this, not for myself, but also for helping others.
Sure. It's for our good and his good. Romans tells us that. I think it's Romans.
Yeah, I would just be praying for put me around the right people so I can be fed and feed.
That's gonna bug me. I need to know that.
Yeah, I was
John
gonna say
6,
look it up.
Yeah.
So
I need to know
you
that
can you
verse.
say it
It's
exactly.
While he's
bugging
looking
me.
that up, we'll let you guys in on a little secret, kind of, sort of. We're gonna have Emily and David Jr.
together
on here very soon. David's only here for a little bit longer, so we're gonna have both of them on, and we don't even have a clue how that's gonna go, and we didn't even plan this. We just kind of said, let's get up there and talk. It'll be neat, and we always find that stuff comes out that we weren't planning on saying, that the Holy Spirit just brings out. So, all right, what is it, John 6:13?
This could be even more so. I think it's going to be really relevant to everything. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. That's my verse.
Oh yeah.
And I think you can
We'll
tell.
put that in the
you can
link.
tell why.
Yeah.
Put that in the link.
Because when I've not only lost just my mom, right? I've lost my great grandpa, great grandma, another great grandma, another great grandpa. I lost my grandpa.
Larry.
I've lost all these people, right? But I've never struggled super hard with it. I think it's always God's always been there. He's always been there to give me that peace to work through it and to know that He's there. He's with me.
That's awesome.
It's
better than
after that car accident, it wasn't even that bad of a car accident. It was just I'm not even. It was literally I hit her going maybe 5 miles an hour,
smack dab in your face. That's how
boop,
he did
and
mine.
then it was just peace.
Yeah.
And then he hit me with the verse, and I was like, oh, I see. And that's been my favorite verse ever since. Which is another reason why I've always liked the peace more than anything.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the verse that we have for this podcast, which is Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous. He's commanded us to, and sometimes we're going to do that in a more quiet space, and sometimes it's going to be not as quiet. And no matter what, it's called, because He's conquered the world, and in Him nothing is impossible. Without Him, it's a little harder. Your mother's verse, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ.
It strengthens me. Yep.
I love it. Okay, so on that note, any last words you want to leave everyone with?
I don't know. I think I've said everything I can really think of.
Yeah.
I've said pretty much everything I've learned through my short time of experiencing life with Him so far.
Which has been jam-packed, if you think about it.
It really has, yeah.
And I am blessed to just a year and 8 months be on the scene, but with you less time, I would say, just because of how we've, had the distance and the military
only get to see 3 times. 3 times.
But each time it gets it's cool because God gives another layer, I believe, to getting to know each other and feeling
well. In the time that I've gotten to spend with just going up to the school and talking to the kids as well, I think that was also.
Yeah, I'm so excited you're coming.
Cool experience.
So David's coming to school again and going to chat with the students in his BDUs.
Well, OCBs, but yeah.
Okay, wait. What? All right, is that an old term?
I call them that too.
Yeah, BDUs are the old
term.
Old school ones.
What's OCB?
OCP is the
OCP?
operational camouflage pattern.
All right, there's a newer term than what I'm used to. Okay. But that's exciting. Yeah. The kids love it too.
I think that may be a good thing with him and Emily is to maybe speak on that dynamic of mom gone now. How do we navigate?
Yeah.
Dad remarried and kind of hit that a little bit for some people that would hear that.
Very different experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure, but it might help
be good
people
to bring out in that one.
because we did the one podcast when we had Michelle from Widowed Too Soon on, and she was like, you don't understand how rare that is that Amy is getting along with you kids as well, because she goes, it's very rare that
But there's so
especially
much
older,
accepting and like
'cause
almost blending so
the
quickly.
younger kids, she said, were easier or more accepting than older.
Yeah, they're just happy-go-lucky kids. Yeah.
Older.
Yeah, and she's worked with and counseled and chatted with many, many, many widows and people who have lost their moms and dads.
So
And
it's just harder when it's
significant
older.
others.
So it's like,
I think
whoa.
it's just a testament to how powerful God is.
Yeah, I so agree with you on that.
It just is. That's all it is.
I stand in awe that this is what he's done. I mean, it's like you said, you can't imagine your dad at 40 some years old not ever having another partner. It's a tragedy that your mom passed, but it's obviously what God allowed. What's next?
It was his plan thing. I think it was entirely his plan.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in more ways than I thought. Like the other day I was in the shower, which is where I talk to God a lot and hear from him a lot. It's very strange. Or cleaning the litter boxes, the strangest places. But he says to me, when I lost my mom, I was 20. You were 21 and Emily was 18 and a half-ish. I'm like right smack dab in the middle. And it's, I just look at that and go, wow, God.
I've always said this too. And I'm sure I've said it to both of you that I love Mama with everything. I don't think she was your person. You know what I mean? That she meant for you guys to be together to do what you guys did. But then once that was over, he brought you your person. And I'm sure I've said this to both of you guys. From an outside perspective, it's very clear that this was his plan. Like from the get-go, this was his plan.
Yeah. There's a lot of confirmation that's been there. And I think that he allowed me to have my experience with my mom in preparation for this back half of my life where I get to carry the torch.
Yeah.
And I get to be grandma and your mom got to be mom and that was where he had her.
Several times she was perseverating over that, like talking about that. And I go, well, you get to be grandma. Suze didn't, she got to be mom.
Yeah.
To you two kids, but she doesn't get to be grandma.
Well, after having lost my mom and knowing how devastating that was for me as a girl losing my mom and not really ever having my dad in my life too. So my story was a little bit different than yours. You guys have a great dad and a dad who's always been active in your life. So just being prepared for that and going, I know what it's like to be that age and lose your mom and holy cow, I think that was preparation for this and I'm still navigating it. I never want to tread on that or lose sight that I'm not your biological mother and I'm not Emily's biological mother, but I am so honored and blessed to carry the torch now and be as good of a mother figure as I can be. I want to steward it well.
You're also equipped because you lost your mom, so you know what they've been through.
Yeah,
you're able to empathize with them.
Especially for Emily, I've always been way I love Mama dearly, but I've always been way closer with her. I always have.
Yeah, and
it's always been just the two of us.
Yeah, and I know a lot
Emily,
of
it's huge.
The
fact that he brought you into our life. It's always been. It's huge for Emily.
And she's gotten better.
Yeah,
and is able to work through that.
Well, I think, and I think that we all still have our own walk with. Like I'm still navigating. Like this feels like my house, as strange as that seems, because you guys have all made me feel that way, and that I can. And it's a very strange position for someone coming into a place and it's not their place, and there's been 25 years of history before you.
Yeah,
it's a strange position to be in, but y'all have never made me feel that way. Never.
Well, I told her, I was like, it's your house, make it your house.
She wouldn't want that either. That's something I've thought about too, is especially whenever you told me about it. That was one of my thoughts, was like, she'd want you to remarry. I don't think she'd want you to stay single.
Yeah.
But she just wouldn't. That's not.
She would want you happy.
That was like her thing. Is she was it's sometimes to a fault, is that she had to have people she cared about happy. Had to. it was a detriment sometimes to herself, but
Big old heart.
but yeah, she had a huge heart, and if she cared about you, she needed you to be happy. So
that's so awesome. That's like her mama. It's like Grandma Judy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a big heart too.
Yeah.
Well, until we meet again with Emily,
whenever
very
that's
soon.
Soon.
Oh, it'll be very
have to
soon.
get that on there.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing. I know it'll help a lot of people, and I especially know if some people your age group listen to this. I mean, it's okay to be wherever you're at, just still seek him.
Yeah, don't say it again. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. Just be present, especially in his presence.
Yeah, I was just saying his presence. You don't have to
in his presence and know what is happening.
Yeah.
That is a good
just
way to put it.
look for him.
Yep, look for him.
You can get caught up in the checklist.
Yeah,
I didn't do this, didn't do this, didn't do this. It's like
he doesn't care.
Did you speak to him today? Did you talk to him today? He's supposed to be your best friend. Are you having moments with him?
Yeah.
Are you sharing the stuff that you're struggling with him?
You letting him talk to you, minister to you, convict you.
And if you didn't yesterday, do it today.
Well, the key thing is if you are talking, are you listening, or are you just talking?
Good call. And then when you listen, are you being obedient? That's been the big game changer for me.
You can do that real good when you're sitting in front of fire in a log cabin. Just saying.
You're gonna get another log cabin sent to you.
There's nothing you can do besides sit there.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for allowing us to share our son with you. Keep him in your prayers as he is in the military, active in the military. Keep all of our servicemen and women in your prayers.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
See you guys. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on this journey of faith and reflection. We hope today's episode has inspired and encouraged you in your walk with Christ. Remember, no matter where you are, God's love is always with you, guiding and supporting you every step of the way. If you've been blessed by our podcast, we'd love for you to share it with others who might also benefit from it. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and follow us on social media for more updates and encouragement. New episodes are released the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. Until next time, as it is written in Joshua 1:9, be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go.